Good afternoon. Welcome to RSBN Live. I'm Matthew Alvarez. It is the bottom of the hour, 2:30, as we await the president. We have a couple hours yet until we get there. A lot of news, of course, that we're following here at the network. In the meantime, we could talk about first the meeting there, the executive order, or at least the announcement, actually. Yesterday, of course, an executive order with the Olympics. We'll get to that as well. Let's talk specifically about what's going to happen at 4:30, then we'll get into the news of the day. We're told that the president will be making an announcement about a major investment for our country, but I'm sure he'll be talking about some other news items that are happening today as well. Now, this is going to start at about 4:30 from the Oval Office. Bloomberg is reporting that the president will announce that Apple will commit to spend another $100 billion on domestic manufacturing, bringing that total to $600 billion. So that's a huge announcement and investment into our country from a company that many of us have one of those phones, or if you're a Droid person, all good too, but a huge investment announcement coming up a bit later. Let's go to some of the news we're monitoring right now. Developing news, of course, out of Fort Stewart that many of you have already heard of. I just want to go over some of the basics that we have learned here. Of course, this is Fort Stewart, located southwest of Savannah, Georgia. Fort Stewart is home to the Army's 3rd Infantry Division. We're told that about 11 this morning, local time, someone shot 5 people on the base, specifically in the area of the 2nd Armored Brigade combat team. So we're told the shooter has been taken into custody and that those who were shot are recovering from injuries at this hour at the hospital. On X and Truth Social, White House Press Secretary Kellen Leavitt says, as you see there, the president has been briefed on the matter and that the White House is monitoring the situation. We're also told that the FBI Atlanta's Savannah office is aware of the incident at Fort Stewart and is actually coordinating with the Army Criminal Investigation Division for any assistance that might be needed. So we'll bring you the latest information as it becomes available from Fort Stewart there. We're told that this is the largest Army installation, Army base east of the Mississippi, that according to the AP. So we're monitoring what happened there. That was about 11 this morning. Meantime, again, later today, the president is expected to make that announcement about that major investment for our country. But again, I'm sure he'll be talking about that as well out of Georgia. Let's go over that once again. If you're just joining us, Bloomberg reporting that the president will announce that Apple will commit to spend another $100 billion on domestic manufacturing, bringing that total to $600 billion. Another story that we're tracking is that 8 days ago, President Trump gave Russia a 10-day deadline, which is this Friday, for Russia to make a deal with Ukraine, or that Russia would face sanctions by way of added tariffs. We also know that United States Special Envoy Steve Witkoff met with Vladimir Putin at the Kremlin today. At about 1 Eastern time, the president said that on Truth Social right there. My special envoy, Steve Witkoff, just had a highly productive meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Great progress was made. Afterwards, I updated some of our European allies. Everyone agrees this war must come to a close, and we will work towards that in the days and weeks to come. Thank you for your attention to this matter, end quote. So we'll be monitoring a lot of stories today. Of course, you know, there's a lot going on in that 24/7 news cycle. So many other stories to talk about. But let's shift gears. We're going to be here for a little bit of time until we see the president there at 4:30 Eastern time. Meantime, nearly 250,000 people, probably more, watched Right Side Broadcasting Network across all of our platforms yesterday as the president signed an executive order creating a White House Olympic task force for the 2028 Summer Games in Los Angeles. Take a look. All right, that from the White House just recently within the 24/7 news cycle. Of course, you watched that here For those of you that tuned in yesterday or live streamed in yesterday, saw the president sign that executive order all about the Olympic Games. And if you recall, flag football, baseball, softball, these are all sports, added sports into those 2028 Summer Olympic Games. So that will be fun to watch. And it will be also fun to watch more wins by President Trump and more information when it comes to all sorts of things, including the Tulsi Gabbard report, the Department of National Intelligence report to the FBI and the DOJ, in the sense of now Pam Bondi saying there's a DOJ criminal investigation into those that were involved in this Russia hoax. So we'll see how the court plays out that, if there is the next step, which would be an indictment, but we're not there at this point. Another story we're following, of course, is out of the Department of Justice when it comes to any specifics with the Epstein case. You remember that Mr. Comer, James Comer out of Kentucky, has a laundry list of people that are going to be speaking under oath at a House committee over the next month and a half. So, and actually into October. So there's a lot there to be discussed as well when it comes to the Epstein case. So a lot of news going on. Those are like heavy lifting stories that are happening right now. I mean, everything from our country, the current state of our country as we move forward for the next 3.5 years and beyond. So we're here for you, and glad you're here with us on Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's 2:36 Eastern Time. Before we continue on with some more of our fresh content that we've been seeing out there in social media, but also just tracking all of these different news stories, let's go to some of our great sponsors as well. Without our great sponsors, these patriotic, great people, we wouldn't be able to bring you all this live coverage, and also without your donations. So let's go to All Family Pharmacy. All you have to do is understand that the fight for medical freedom is real, and All Family Pharmacy is doing something about it. They actually just lowered prices by up to 25% on ivermectin and mebendazole, making these medications easier and more affordable for families across America to stay prepared. So you don't need to wait in a doctor's office or deal with insurance. All Family Pharmacy works with licensed doctors who review your request online, they write the prescription, and they ship it quickly to your door. You get trusted medication, fast, without the hassle, gatekeeping, or inflated costs. So just real access to real medicine. Check them out and get what you need. They have more than 200 medications available, all from a pharmacy that's on your side. So all you have to do is go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Use that RSBN 10 promo code for an extra 10% off. That's allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Let's go from All Family Pharmacy to Spring, Texas, angelpaste.com. An RSBN promo code goes a long way here too. So you have the Miracle Cream as the flagship product. There's a number of great products on angelpaste.com. They hire military veterans, a longtime sponsor here, and they have great products. So if you'd like to purchase something maybe for a gift, you can do that, angelpaste.com, as it's 2:38 Wednesday, August 6th. All right, so let's go on with some more of the videos that we've been tracking here at the network, including, I'm looking forward to getting to the one after this. This one's a good one too, but let's just stay in order right now. Let's go to RFK Jr., who spoke about mRNA technology just yesterday.
Hi, it's Robert F. Kennedy Jr. here, your HHS secretary. At HHS, we have a division called the Biomedical Advanced Research and Development Authority, or BARDA. BARDA drives some of our most advanced scientific research. It funds developments of vaccines, drugs, diagnostics, and other tools to fight emerging diseases and national health threats. Over the past few weeks, BARDA reviewed 22 mRNA vaccine development investments and began canceling them. Let me explain why. Most of these shots are for flu or COVID, but as the pandemic showed us, mRNA vaccines don't perform well against viruses that infect the upper respiratory tract. Here's the problem. mRNA only codes for a small part of the viral proteins, usually a single antigen. One mutation and the vaccine becomes ineffective. This dynamic drives a phenomenon called antigenic shift, meaning that the vaccine paradoxically encourages new mutations and can actually prolong pandemics as the virus constantly mutates to escape the protective effects of the vaccine. Millions of people, maybe even you or someone you know, caught the Omicron variant despite being vaccinated. That's because a single mutation can make mRNA vaccines ineffective. The same risk applies to flu. After reviewing the science and consulting top experts at NIH and FDA, HHS has determined that mRNA technology poses more risks than benefits for these respiratory viruses. That's why, after extensive review, BARDA has begun the process of terminating these 22 contracts totaling just under $500 million. To replace the troubled mRNA programs, we're prioritizing the development of safer, broader vaccine strategies, like whole virus vaccines and novel platforms that don't collapse when viruses mutate. Let me be absolutely clear. HHS supports safe, effective vaccines for every American who wants them. That's why we're moving beyond the limitations of mRNA for respiratory viruses and investing in better solutions. Thank you.
Produced by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Okay, so the Secretary of Health and Human Services, RFK Jr. there, speaking about mRNA technology. You can get the latest information, of course, at various X and Truth Social posts from your government. You know, this is the government that we as a people said we want them in charge. We want President Trump to lead this ship. And we're looking forward to seeing many, many, many more wins. And we're also looking forward to seeing any investigation when it comes to any bad actors out there, lawbreakers, be held accountable so our country can stay saved and rescued even past these long 3.5 years that we still have with President Trump at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. But looking forward to just monitoring all the various stories that are out there. There's a lot going on, of course, if you're just joining us. Let's go right now to the fact that in some other news, you know, we know that there's alligator Alcatraz in Florida, but there's the Speedway Slammer in Indiana. There's the photo right there, reposted by the White House via Homeland Security, showing the Indy-style car there with the words ICE emblazoned on the side and on the wall of whatever turn that is. If you're really into racing, that might be turn 1, who knows. But still, though, this is interesting because we know that alligator Alcatraz would basically process, house, and deport illegal aliens, and on top of that, illegal criminal aliens. So there's part 2 now, and it's called the Speedway Slammer. It's in Indiana. That post there, thanks to DHS, the Department of Homeland Security. Speaking of the southern border, or speaking of illegal immigration, the U.S. military is now using drones along the Arizona southern border to track any drug cartel or illegal aliens trying to cross the border. They're monitoring things probably way above my, I was going to say pay grade, but you know, just outside of my scope, because obviously I'm not in the military. I don't have a source directly on the southern border right now, but I do know this, that the Department of Defense, they post various videos about what's going on down there. So this video you're about to see is basically a raw video. There's no narration. It's not like a news package or a news story, but it's just video to let you see and feel what it's like to be there on the southern border. And also, in this case, when it comes to these drones that the military is using, take a look.
Altitude 1000 AGL. Be over. Yeah. Which one is that? It might be. Yeah, come on.
So we're told there along the southern border that some in the drug cartel, the illegal aliens, they use sometimes drones, mainly the drug cartel, to monitor what's going on our side of the border. So guess what? Our military is like, okay, well, first of all, we have an Army Stryker vehicle standing right here or sitting right here. We have the military along the border, along with Customs Border Protection. So we're going to monitor you guys as well. And that's what you see right there. That's a video from the Department of Defense. If you're just joining us now, this is a live picture just outside of the White House. That's the stakeout location where sometimes people like Tom Homan, who earlier today stepped up to that microphone. But anytime somebody from the White House or somebody of note stops there, of course, we'll take that live as it happens, as this is right behind the White House there, or right in front of the White House, the West Wing. So we're going to go there live if we need to here throughout this broadcast as we await the president at about 4:30. If you're just joining us now, we'll re-rack all the information from the top of the broadcast, which started about 15 minutes ago. A lot of news stories, of course, going on out there. We're keeping our eye on all of them because these are the ones that, you know what, I mean, you know, on the right side of history, if you care about your country, you want to know about specifically, okay, what's this announcement about? You'll see that it's about manufacturing, but also we see a lot of other items that we're following here, and we'll go over them again in just a minute. And we have a number of live interviews coming up as well. So we'll go to the top news stories in just a minute if you're just joining us now. But in the meantime, sticking to the southern border. So we know that the drones are being flown there by our military to track on the other side there to see if drug cartels up to no good, which we know they aren't up to any good. They're a terrorist organization, according to President Trump. And we the people, I would say a majority of us would say, you are right about that, sir. So in the meantime, along that border, thanks to the big, beautiful law, now what we have is the southern border wall. We already know most of it is there, or at least a portion of it is, but the money from that big, beautiful law is now paving way for the rest of that border wall. And even when the border wall is built in sections like you're about to see in California, still the Marines are going to reinforce the border wall. And how would you reinforce a border wall? What does that look like? Well, here's another video from the Department of Defense.
One week turns into 2 weeks, 2 weeks turns into 3 turns into a month.
All right, so those are videos. That one there, Marines in Southern California reinforcing the border wall, just bringing some context to what our military is up to down there along the southern border. Always good to see that from the Department of Defense. Meantime, let's shift over to a couple sponsors before we continue on here. We want to thank and tell you about this great sponsor, Cove Pure. Always good when you don't have to drink tap water, in my opinion. So these guys take care of that really quickly. So Utah and Florida actually just passed bills to ban fluoride in the water supply. So why are these states all of a sudden doing that massive U-turn on fluoride when they've been adding it to our water for the past 8 decades? Well, RFK Jr. has been warning us about fluoride for a while, and the government now admits to the fact that fluoride is actually linked to lower IQ. So in a study done by JAMA Pediatrics, one of the top medical journals out there, scientists actually found that fluoride levels over 2 milligrams per liter of water caused more than a 2-point drop in children's IQ scores. So that's why we're proud to partner with Cove Pure. Cove Pure is a water filtration system that sits on your countertop. You don't have to drill any holes or call a plumber to set it up. Just fill it with tap water, plug it in, and it gets straight to work. Their ClearWave technology is certified to remove up to 99.9% of impurities in your water. So anything that's not water, and that sounds kind of funny, anything that's not water, well, what do you mean? Well, meaning fluoride, pharmaceuticals, and even forever chemicals gets filtered out, leaving you with pure water. So once you try Cove Pure water, you're not going back to tap water. It makes your water taste so good. So the best part is it has this touch screen that lets you choose whatever temperature you want. So cold, hot, warm. It couldn't be easier. And if you happen to like fluoride, of course, that's totally fine. You can get that through toothpaste or mouthwash. But the government, of course, should never force you to ingest it. So take back your right to choose. Click below covepure.com/RSBN. For a limited time only, you'll get a special discount of $200 off of Cove Pure. So wherever you're watching right now, there's that link, but also you can go to covepure.com/RSBN. Speaking of /RSBN, let's go to MyPillow/RSBN. Free shipping still, and that's always good. We'll keep that. Hopefully we can keep that forever here at Right Side, right? Free shipping sale right now at mypillow.com/RSBN. A ton of great products there, more than 2,000 to choose from. My family and I only have maybe about 10 to 12 different products from MyPillow. So there's a lot that we still have to peruse on the MyPillow site. So if you'd like to, support a conservative business, support Right Side as well when you do /RSBN as we partner with MyPillow, just like we partner with all these great sponsorships here at the network. So go to mypillow.com/RSBN. You can save with code RSBN. So in about 8 minutes from now, we'll be going to our first live interview. And then at about 4 o'clock, we'll have one more live interview prior to President Trump's signing their announcement when it comes to the investment from Apple. We're told Bloomberg is reporting that Apple is going to give an extra $100 billion in investment to the United States. That brings it up to $600 billion. I'm sure the president will be talking about other news of the day as well. And on top of that, usually takes on those questions from reporters. Yesterday, if you're just joining us now, we aired a video about the Olympic signing when it comes to the task force yesterday. And it was at the Eisenhower Executive Office building in the South Court Auditorium. Okay, so that was yesterday. And that was the first time the president held an event there live that we've covered since he became the 47th president. When the event was over, the reporters started asking questions, which we usually do, or at least you get picked on by just raising your hand. The point is that I thought the president was actually walking away from the reporters as they asked questions, and made me had a mini flashback. Is this a Joe Biden move? Is he going to ignore the reporters and walk away? For 1 second there, if you guys go back and watch the video, you'll see it. He almost turns his back to the reporters, starts walking, but where he's walking is to the podium to take on the questions. It's just cool. I thought he was going to, ignore the press there. He didn't. And that's one thing that we see here at this White House, that truth and transparency. We're seeing right now the Department of National Intelligence with Tulsi Gabbard a couple weeks back speaking at that Carolyn Leavitt White House press conference and saying that there are reports going to the DOJ and the FBI. Now the DOJ with Pam Bondi says, well, we're opening up a criminal investigation into anybody involved in this Russia hoax. So now we're going to take, that's one story we're following. Then you have James Comer with Kentucky saying, I'm going to subpoena a number of people, including Hillary Clinton, and the list goes on, James Comey and others, in regards to the Epstein case. So there's a lot of news happening, whether it's the 20 promises to the American people and all of the wins and all of that. And then you have the news of the day, the terrible news out of Georgia at Fort Stewart, where 5 people were shot by someone there. That person is in custody. Those 5, I see at this point, are expected to survive. So we're monitoring that story. I know President Trump has been briefed on that, according to Carolyn Leavitt. So there's just a lot going on. And what we're doing here in conservative media and right here on Right Side is just monitoring the various stories, having the live pictures for you, And that is basically what I think the news should always have been doing in the first place, from the right side of history, speaking common sense and speaking things that you guys agree with on the right side of history. It doesn't have to be rocket science when it comes to the Constitution. It's called freedom of speech. It's easy stuff. We got to keep it going. Thanks for sticking with us right now. Let's move on to the Secretary of Transportation, Sean Duffy. He held a press conference within that 24/7 news cycle where the topic was unleashing American drone dominance. Take a look.
I think it's only right that America lead, because we have led in aviation since the very beginning. We are now going to also lead in the drone space as well.
Hey everyone, welcome to USDOT. Today we're unleashing American drone dominance. It is a great day to be an American.
All right, so there you go. That's from yesterday at the Department of Transportation. So, Sean Duffy now, I believe is the title, the acting director of NASA right now, or the director of NASA. So he's got a lot on his plate when it comes to our country here on Earth and then out there in space. So, but it seems as if he's obviously doing a great job there, and looking forward to seeing the FAA and all of the situation when it comes to our airlines out there, all the computer systems, getting that massive overhaul that was part of that big, beautiful law. So, yeah, a lot going on. So we're going to get to some more videos coming up and also some live interviews. Speaking of live interviews, let's go to Nicholas Fondacaro, the associate editor of Newsbusters, joins us now, as we can see on the programming there. Sir, your thoughts on the terrible events that took place this morning at Fort Stewart?
Yeah, my heart and my prayers, my thoughts, all of that goes out to the families impacted, all the service members and their families back at home. I also speak for my organization as well with that.
Definitely. So you're an associate editor with Newsbusters. Can you tell us about Newsbusters and the connection to the Media Research Center? We've had a number of people on from MRC, and how does that all come together, and what is your main job, sir?
So at Newsbusters, our main goal is to watch the media and report and neutralize their bias. We're the ones that come out with studies. If you've seen anything about 102 liberal guests on The View versus 0 conservatives, I'm the one that put out that study. We did a number study recently looking at the coverage of DNI Gabbard's press conference and versus that against their Russia coverage back during Trump's first term. And we do studies of the media and try to put numbers to the bias to show this is what they're saying, this is the numbers that they do. And aren't those numbers staggering? Can you release the information again to us here on Right Side when it comes to back in the day, so the Russia hoax in the media versus when the Department of National Intelligence Director Tulsi Gabbard, when she spoke about the fact that there may be criminal charges coming against the Russia hoax people, what's the percentage, or how many people? Can you just break it down for us? Yeah, so we went back during Trump's first term, through the evening newscasts of ABC, CBS, and NBC, we discovered that they had done 2,284 minutes on the Russia collusion hoax, sort of pushing this and talking about how this is a thing and sort of giving credence to the Steele dossier and all this stuff. And then I believe it was a little over 2.5 minutes for the Giffords, or for the Tulsi Gabbard press conference, and that release of that saying, oh, hey, there could be something here with Obama and all of that. Can you believe that? So more than 2,000, you said, minutes for the Russia hoax back in the day, and then 2.5 minutes for Tulsi Gabbard? Yes. So, and that's just with those so-called main networks. What about the fake news in the cable news industry? Obviously, I know that wasn't something you guys were focusing on because you were looking at the main nightly news. So the minutes probably are skyrocketing, no? Yes. So basically, off the top of my head here, the numbers, we really weren't looking at that because basically with the broadcast news networks of ABC, CBS, and NBC, their ratings blow the cables out of the water. So these are the routine ones that people like to watch in the morning. So ABC's Good Morning America, the Today Show, and then in the night, World News Tonight, Nightly News, where they get millions of viewers. So we were focused on those because they have the largest reach compared to the cables. although the cables do have their 24-hour news cycles. But basically, you saw similar things where they were putting a lot of emphasis on the Russia collusion hoax, sort of saying, oh, there could be something here. We're going to bring on our experts, or their so-called experts, including like John Brennan, James Clapper. So all of these people who were trying to give credence to the Russia collusion hoax, who were sort of in on it a little bit, and even though there wasn't anything to it, were sort of out there pushing it.
Yeah, that's wild that they're like, hey, here's an expert. Oh, by the way, they had their hand in the cookie jar. That's ridiculous. I saw on Nielsen the other day that live stream broadcasting, so just live stream, had more views overall, not only just news, than cable and broadcast combined. That was in the month of May. So you're seeing a lot of people saying, you know what, I'd rather stream my news or stream my entertainment and content, that kind of thing. Are you seeing that as well there? Do you guys focus in on live streaming, or is it more cable and broadcast? And which is still great, because there's just a lot of terrible information called disinformation where they know they're lying and they're still going to report it to sway public opinion. So yeah, your thoughts on that?
Exactly. A lot of the times with their live streams, it's basically a simulcast of what they have on at the time. So if it's during the mornings, you'll have their morning shows. In the evening, it'll be their evening shows. We do also look at those to see where, if they don't cover something on their morning or evening flagship newscast, we'll look at that and see, oh, hey, did they try to hide something there just so they could check off a box and say, yeah, we covered it. We covered it on streaming. We didn't cover it on the flagships. And we do see that on occasion where they'll put something out. I believe recently there was a bit on the Russia stuff. I believe it was with Comer's release stuff. They did like about 19 seconds and they ran it a couple different times. And they basically will relegate that to the streaming. And that way they can say, well, hey, we did cover it. We put it on our streaming service.
Yeah, exactly. But the thing is a number of people are watching streaming. Let's talk about conservative media, true conservative media on the streaming side. I know Right Side Broadcasting Network, and there's a number of other conservative networks. But do you guys look at that at all? Is that something that is so much of a smaller scale at this point that you're not looking at it yet? Or is it grown to something where it looks like, I mean, there was more than 250,000 people watching on all of our platforms just yesterday for some of our coverage. And we've seen, I think it was 5 million for the election night coverage, 6 million for inauguration. So the numbers are starting to increase big time.
Yeah, we at Newsbusters and the Media Research Center, we're mostly focused on combating liberal bias. So a lot of what we watch are what a lot of people would call the mainstream, though we will just, here in-house, we refer to it mostly as the liberal news outlet. So it's the liberal media for us. So that's pretty much, we're mostly focused on a lot of other outlets, though we will look at like Fox News or somebody a bit more neutral like News Nation, and just be like, oh, hey, this is what they're covering, and compare it to what NBC, CBS, ABC, or CNN, MSNBC are not covering. Be like, here's how much time they spent on this, while these other more liberal ones, the ones that are more open in their liberalism with MSNBC, or a little bit more insidious in claiming that they're not liberal like CNN, to show them this is how these different outlets are covering a certain topic.
I think it's fascinating. You know, this is our business, the news biz. You know, to see what people are covering, what they're talking about. I want to get your take on the following: people that tell it like it is, or they say we tell it like it is here. You know, that common sense reporting, that just, you know, being with the people and saying this is affecting the people. These are the true statements. These are the facts that we see. It's all common sense stuff compared to the false narrative and the lies that we see on the left. So your thoughts about just, I guess my point is with conservative media, just being real with the people. I think that's what they want, don't they?
Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons why conservative media is growing a lot and you have a lot of different options here, is because with conservative media, you get a more authentic view of a lot of the people that are presenting it. They're more honest about it, and you get those more options because everybody's going to have their own version of authentic, or like their own authentic selves. So you'll have 3 different hosts. Each one of them have their own opinions, or their own style of covering something, or their own way of being a presenter of the news and of facts. And they're allowed to be that way. That's why you have kind of a lot of smaller but growing conservative news outlets and news personalities, as opposed to someone at like we're CNN, where they come in, they have their editorial meetings in the morning, and they all get their marching orders. And you'll see people like Jake Tapper, who pretends to be this guy who has seen the light when he's pushing his book for covering Biden's mental decline, but then last night was carrying water for Democrats again when he's there claiming that Republicans are the worst offenders when it comes to gerrymandering.
Yeah, so to your point, if you and I were at any of these fake news outlets, which we won't be, but if we ever were, and we were at one of the morning meetings, no matter, name the liberal outlet, right? And say we're in New York City, in Manhattan, or we're in DC, or outside in Virginia, somewhere, and we're sitting there at 9 a.m., that huge conference table, maybe some of the top bosses are on speakerphone or something, right? And we're talking about the news of the day. And every last one of the people in there are all most likely against, I'm going to call it the way it is, God, family, country, Trump, freedom, the Constitution. Do you agree, or do you think that's a stretch?
I think that's absolutely what we see. Just take Chris Cuomo, for example. He used to be with CNN. Before that, he was with ABC. And he's, after going over to News Nation, after getting fired and going to News Nation, he's basically been open and honest about some of the things that were happening behind the scenes there. He, on his podcast, he talked about how ABC, there was a kind of a kerfuffle about them not wearing American flag pins. And they were basically told, don't wear the American flag pin in like the early days of the early 2000s. And that is a directive that came down. And then with CNN, we know that there's sort of a certain way that they wanted to present things. And he sort of unveiled that a little bit. And now at News Nation, he's able to be a bit more of his more authentic self and sort of hitting both the right and the left, though he still tends to favor the left just ever so slightly, though he'll be honest and hit them a bit more because obviously he's more open about wanting them to do a little bit better. But his whole thing now is getting after it and being a free agent and being able to say what he wants, how he wants to say it.
And I love what you're saying there, being your authentic self and sporting the American flag. It's a free country. We should be able to do that, especially in the nation that we are. As a journalist, you're supposed to be, speaking on behalf of or being a voice for the people as well and not carrying water for government. Now, here's the thing that I want to dive into one quick thing and get real specific on this. We're at Right Side Broadcasting Network. We cover President Trump rallies. I voted for President Trump. We see that we want a winner in the White House, and that is President Donald J. Trump. However, even in that framework, we still have to cover truth. And if President Trump said, hey, everybody go over to this cliff and jump off the cliff, we'd be like, wait, we love you, President Trump, but we're not going to do that. You know what I mean? And he hasn't done that, but do you see what I'm saying? We still have to stick to the truth for the American people and not carry water for an administration, right?
Exactly. And you see almost the exact opposite of that at CNN and MSNBC, where they will go out of their way to do certain things. Like for us, I cover The View. That is part of my penance for whatever I did previously in my life. But basically, one of the things that they're very open about that, oh, hey, this show, this ABC News show, by the way, is very much for Democratic talking points. Whoopi Goldberg has, on a couple occasions earlier this year, has gotten into sort of arguments with other liberals on the show that they've had on, and just be like, when she had an argument with Stephen A. Smith about the Democratic messaging in 2024, and she's like, no, we did our job. We were there. We were the ones pulling our weight in trying to get Kamala elected. And they're very open about this is what the show is, and this is what it's meant to be.
So first of all, my apologies to you that you have to watch The View. Secondly, didn't they just say the other day that they're going on to hiatus now? Is that what's going on?
Yeah, they have a usual summer hiatus where they'll take a break for a few weeks and then they'll come back in the spring because they operate, even though they're sort of like a news show, they still operate on that season sort of model where they come out in the fall, they go through into the winter, take another break, come back in the spring, and then they go on another break. They should be starting their 29th season in September, right after Labor Day. But so they're on hiatus, but there seems to be some sort of rumblings about some sort of changes. I know Rosie O'Donnell, though not on the show, has posted on TikTok recently, sort of suggesting that she's hearing some rumblings of some sort of shakeup. She's saying cancellation, though so far we're not really seeing anything like that publicly. But Newsbusters will be on top of that if anything happens.
Yeah, definitely. So, Nicholas, tell us, why is it important for you as an associate editor for Newsbusters and working with MRC, the Media Research Center, to combat liberal bias? Why is it important to you?
It's important to me because there needs to be a certain set of facts that we can all agree on, but also the media needs to just present what's happening in the world and let the rest of us decide what's happening. I know there are certain things that are that we can all sort of get behind, like recently Jim Acosta sort of interviewing the AI zombie of a kid killed in Parkland. And even people on Blue Sky and on the left are looking at it like, dude, that is kind of creepy. And so there are certain things that we can all get behind, but like it is important that the media has another counterweight to what it is they're saying, especially when they're pushing an agenda and they're claiming they don't have an agenda.
Exactly. So here's my question. This is something that people have talked about a little bit too out there. I've seen it on X and Truth Social. But what about those on the right side of history in the sense of conservative media, true conservative media, like right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network? The thing is many people might say, well, you're just carrying water for President Trump. Well, actually, President Trump's standing for the same stuff that we agree with. So, so how do you report that? I guess outside of that, you have an opinion editorial. As you know, there's op-eds. As you know, there are television shows where hosts have their opening monologue and they interview guests and all that. And then there's reporting facts of an incident, the awful incident out of Fort Stewart today, where 5 people were shot. I believe that they're all going to survive. The shooter is now in custody. So there's facts to that story. I'm not sharing my opinion on that. That's just what happened. But then there is an opinion editorial that is saying, hey, we still want to be able to love God, love our family, love our country. So how do you not want to go there if that's where you really, what you really believe in? You know what I'm saying? Like, you could stick to the facts, but then you stick to what you believe is factual. And the thing is it's either true or it's a lie. And so we would say we're on the side of truth. So how do you dissect all of what I just said there, if there's even a question in what I just asked?
I think it sort of comes down to like what sort of reaction are you having and sort of trying to self-examine oneself when you're hearing certain information. Like if you're hearing something happened to Trump or there was like a leak of something that happened to Trump and you find yourself getting really giddy that, ooh, this could be bad for him, and be like, oh, wait a minute, why am I feeling that way? That is my bias there, right? If somebody at CNN wanted to sort of see certain if we want to go back to COVID, for example, and there's somebody who they want to exploit the death numbers as a way to hammer against Trump, they should probably sort of check their excitement or their enthusiasm or what have you about trying to get the latest numbers just so that they can throw them at him later, or just sort of any sort of somebody that comes out to say something like with a lot of these anonymous sources, they'll instantly jump to something and sort of latch on to something one of these anonymous sources says just because they happen to hold a position somewhere in the government without actually checking it first and just sort of letting that rise to the top. Because remember, during Trump's first term, there was so many corrections and stuff that they would have to walk back on, and their main excuse for going along with it in the first place is it rings true. And it only rang true in their ears because of their biases.
That's a great point. So usually in journalism, it's good to get 3 sources to confirm it as a fact, especially from official positions or that kind of thing. And then you can at least report it as to these people said this. Now, if you're covering for sources, that you're allowed to do that. But outside of that, again, I think what it is if it comes down to this. The real simple basics, the common sense for everyday Americans, it's the American way. It's truth, justice, and the American way. It's the basic stuff. And I guess let's talk about one more thing before I let you go here, Nicholas. Thanks again for spending the time with us. How important is trust in media when it comes to moving forward? We know that the trust is an F- for the mainstream media. And that's why people are starting to watch conservative media, because they trust people that are talking about these basic talking points. They're not trying to pull the wool over anybody's eyes. So just your thoughts about just being able to trust the people that you're hearing from.
Trust is important. That is the main thing that journalists should focus on, is trying to get the public's trust and keep it and nurture that. And with a lot of places, a lot of news agencies like CNN have these, or CBS have like these sort of bad reputations. But what we also have to do is try to find, and it's going to come down to a lot of the individual journalists at a certain place. Like, people ask me, it's like, oh, hey, which news outlets do I trust? And a lot of times, like especially like in the liberal mainstream media, it really comes down to individual journalists, because you'll have good ones at certain places. Like CBS, one of the people that I really like and I like to listen to is Jan Crawford. She's their Supreme Court, their Chief Justice correspondent. And she's always wanted to sort of tap the brakes when there was all the hubbub over presidential immunity, and there was talk of, oh, Trump can use SEAL Team 6 to assassinate his political opponents. She was one of the few voices in the networks to be like, hey guys, tap the brakes. That's not what this means.
Yeah.
And she's even one of the voices of reason inside the organization. When Tony DeCopel, co-host of CBS Mornings, got in trouble for sort of pressing on an anti-Israel activist on air, he was one of the ones in-house in sort of their editorial meetings to just be like, why are we angry at him? Like, how is this different from anybody else using their life experiences to sort of as sort of an expertise in something, or say something or push back on something? Like, she's like sort of this voice of reason inside CBS. And there's a whole David Begnaud as well. There's all these different people. That's why you're seeing a lot of them if they end up leaving, they'll go to Substack or the Free Press to just basically be like independent journalists even after they leave. And that's how they're able to support themselves being independent journalists, is because they themselves are trusted sources and people are willing to give a little bit of their money over to them.
Exactly. So I think of Laura Logan, who used to be mainstream. I think of Catherine Herridge, who used to work at Fox News, then CBS. Then I guess she got let go at CBS. But Catherine Herridge is a true journalist, in my opinion. Shout out, of course, to Megyn Kelly, Tucker Carlson. Again, Laura Logan, Catherine Herridge. These are people that, it's interesting. You see them, and then you see people like Jim Acosta trying to have his own little show. And it's like you have the right wing and you have the left wing, whether they're in a network or not, they have their own show because of their name brand. But I think through all of this, at the end of the day, what people are looking for is someone to trust, but also people that speak like they do. Because the majority of the country, I believe, simply, again, I'll repeat, loves God, loves the country, loves family, wants freedom, wants the Constitution to be the law of the land. And I know I've been on repeat saying that for a long, long time working here at Right Side, but that's really what my heart is into. That's what my mind's into. And so that's the perspective or the lens that I'm looking through whenever it comes to this news media stuff. So if there's anything that comes against God, family, country, the Constitution, right? Then I have people like you, awesome Nicholas Fondacaro from the Newsbusters on, because this is what we want to talk about. We want to keep that freedom of speech going. This is why we do what we do, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. It's us able to make these sort of connections and sort of at least agree on the country, God, and each other. It is sort of like this base sense of what we were able to build the country from since its origins.
Exactly, and that's the thing. So we're working on that side of we the people. And Nick, your last name Fondacaro, man, I looked at it, I asked your people, I said, how do you pronounce it and all that? But that's why I had to look down there. But sir, thank you so much for joining us and spending the time with us here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Where can people follow you on X, Truth Social, that kind of thing?
Yeah, it'll be newsbusters.org. You can see my author page there, and it'll link over to my Twitter. And yeah, Fondacaro is a very, very Italian name. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, my mom's side is Italian. She was born in Brooklyn, so I got the Italian side too. Italian and Cuban over here. So thanks, man.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, definitely. And Nicholas was talking about the voice of reason. Well, that's one of the titles of our shows for Robert McNeely on Thursday nights at 6 o'clock, the voice of reason. So pretty cool. All right, so it's 3:19. Looking forward to seeing the president about 4:30. Until then, There's a video from the DoD, just released a story about a plane crash survivor. So this story takes us back to April of last year. Retired Army Master Sergeant Chris Hyatt was coming in for a routine landing at the Castroville Municipal Airport in Texas when something went terribly wrong. Take a look.
Many times we've gone over the scenario of how it happened, and there's not a scenario that we can come up with where I survived. The tattoo that's on my arm, well, what's left of it, it was burnt off, but was a memorial to my father, the last airplane that he and I restored together. So I started flying at a very, very young age. So I've been around airplanes my entire life. My first ride was on his lap when I was 5 years old in a crop duster. So it's something I've always wanted to do, but then I joined the Army and you know, other priorities took over, raising daughters and being deployed, and the desire for flying never went away. It was always there. It was always something I wanted to do. I did a lot of flying before I retired, and then when I retired, I really started flying again. So on the 29th of April of 2024, I was involved in an airplane crash. And as I was landing and almost completely stopped, I had a catastrophic landing gear failure, and the right landing gear gave out, which caused the mechanical parts to come under and rupture the fuel tank in the small aerobatic plane that I was flying. I was instantly inside a giant orange orb of flames, but by the grace of God, I was able to get out, and then I got the harnesses off, and then I had to reach in to grab the airplane to pull myself up, and that's where I got the burns on my arms. And the whole time my legs were in the fire, knew I had to get somewhere to call for help.
The minute I looked and it said Medina County Fire Department, I looked at my boss and I was like, this isn't good. So I answered it, and he said, Mrs. Hyatt? And I said, yes. And then I heard my husband in the background hollering, tell her I'm okay, tell her I'm okay.
My legs were like apple cores, and my arms were thin. I'd lost a whole bunch of weight. I was ready just to get in a scooter and just live the rest of my life mobilized in a scooter. But fortunately, my wife and one of my physical therapists, Kyle Cunningham, wasn't having that.
We're with them throughout the entirety of their care. So we're with them in the acute phase. As they heal and get better and more stable, they'll go to our step-down unit, and we follow them there. Once they're to the point where they can safely discharge, we then follow up with them in clinic, and then we see them in outpatient if needed. So with a big enough burn, we could be with these folks for a year, 2 or 3 years.
I think I underestimated how hard it was going to be to recover, what it was going to entail. It was a long time in ICU, it was a long time, it was 68 days in the hospital, 12 surgeries, and the recovery from the burns has been the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. I'm 14 months out, and I'm still going to require more surgeries.
His knee motion wasn't good. His ankle motion wasn't good. It wasn't what he needed to do basic movements to get up from the ground. And the moment where he really dialed in was when he said he went out to dinner, and he said people were watching him get out of the chair, and that just made him angry. It was like he finally was like, okay, that's enough. And then we really made some progress.
Let's get in the gym, let's lift weights, let's do all the things we need to do to rebuild your body. For the longest time, I couldn't close that pinky, and I really thought I was never going to be able to close it. It just worked with me until that's the hard work. That's the part that it takes somebody to motivate you, because it's real easy to quit. Because if you quit, it doesn't hurt as bad. But I'm glad I didn't quit.
Come on, come on, come on, come on. Come on, you can do this.
You take someone who doesn't have a great outlook on things, thinks that they're just going to be disabled for the rest of their life. I know what he's capable of. I knew where we could get. Seeing him go through that transition and then having a new lease on life at the end of things, it's just, it's why we do it. It's what I love, so.
Flying is my happy place. It always says my happy place. It's where all my problems go away. And then when I got hurt, I thought I would never fly again. Yeah, 9 days after I got out of the hospital, I was flying again.
Those nurses were phenomenal. And every time I'd be like, I want to get out of the way and I don't want to, and they would be like, how are you feeling? No, no, no. And they'd be like, no, we're here for you too. And I just couldn't get that because he's the patient. He's the one that needs, he's the one with the wounds. And they have a lot going on. They have a roster of patients they take care of. And they always stopped and said, no, we're here for you too.
We spend a lot of time with the patients and their families. So a lot of times the thing I'll ask is, hey, how are you doing? Because this is all new to them. They're learning how to deal with these wounds, this crazy process that we have to go through with burn healing.
With the burns, it's so many people that are involved. It's people that are helping you with your mental health. It's people that are helping you with your surgeries. And then there's people that are helping you with your physical, trying to get back to your new normal. Yeah, I did 26 years in the Army. I did lots of things in the Army. We required lots of physical therapy and lots of hospitalization and lots of therapy. But the therapy that I've had since I've been here it's been phenomenal. But the most amazing, compassionate care from day zero to now. I am where I am now with my new normal, and the fact that I can get around and I can fly airplanes again is due in large part to everyone that was involved at the ISR. They gave me my life back.
Chris Hyatt didn't quit, he kept going. And it's awesome to see whenever you're at your rock bottom, whatever way that looks like, and you're able to overcome all of that. And it makes me think of Mike Lindell as well. Just you go through all these different things, but you're able to overcome it. He didn't quit, he kept going and doing great. So great to bring that video to you. That was actually posted on the Department of Defense's website. I think it was on July 30th, so just about a week ago. And I saw that video, and it's always nice to share these positive stories that are out there as well. You know, on the left side of the aisle, man, they always like to go with a lot of negativity on the constant. And so what we're trying to do here is be common sense and on the right side of history and report what's going on out there in the world. I know it's not always positive, but a great story there. Chris Hyatt didn't quit, and a shout out to doctors and nurses who day in and day out, you know, take care of American citizens and throughout the world, really. I mean, those that are on the right side of history. So wonderful to see that. And speaking of the right side of history, All Family Pharmacy, these guys are the same way. Patriotic people. The fight for medical freedom is real, and All Family Pharmacy is doing something about it. So they just lowered prices by up to 25% on ivermectin, mebendazole, making these medications easier and more affordable for families across America to stay prepared. So you don't need to wait in a doctor's office or deal with insurance. All Family Pharmacy actually works with licensed doctors who review your request online, write the prescription, and they ship quickly to your door. So you get the trusted medication fast, without the hassle, gatekeeping, or inflated costs. just real access to real medicine. Check them out and get what you need. They have over 200 medications available, all from a pharmacy that's on your side. So all you have to do is go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Use that RSBN 10 promo code for that extra 10% off. That's allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Also, speaking of our network, if you'd like to donate or just help us out, as we grow and expand, we have more shows and more coverage, all that kind of stuff. You can do so by going to rsbnetwork.com/donate. or text RSBN to 801-801 if you'd like to give cash or a check, 1550 Opelika Road, Suite 6, Box 344, Auburn, Alabama 36830. All right, so let's move on now as it's the bottom of the hour, 3:30. Still, even though it was time to, go over some of the sponsors there, and they're great sponsors, you think about that story still with Chris Hyatt. It's awesome to see someone that almost died. They were facing death, and they were able to survive that plane crash and, just didn't quit. And that's that fighting spirit, and that's that, I believe, faith in God as well, just to get through to the next level and not quit. And we're not quitting on our country, ever. So looking forward to seeing the president here in about an hour from now. Why don't we do this? Let's take a quick commercial break. My name is Matthew Alvarez. Thanks so much for tuning in here on RSBN Live. We'll be right back.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed, so join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
Welcome back to RSBN Live. Of course, it was great to see Silk there on the commercial. We actually interviewed her just the other day talking about the Pardon Me, the Bevelyn B. Williams movie that's going to be out on August 15th. So definitely, hopefully, some more theaters will allow that film to play. You can look it up on IMDb if you'd like to see what it's all about. But Bevelyn B. Williams' story, quite the movie there. That'll be on August 15th. Okay, so let's start at the top of the broadcast. So at 2 o'clock or 2:30, for those of you that joined us and those of you that just joined us recently, we're monitoring those developments out of Fort Stewart, located southwest of Savannah, Georgia. Fort Stewart, of course, home to the Army's 3rd Infantry Division. We're told that at about 11 this morning, someone shot 5 people on the base, specifically in the area of the 2nd Armored Brigade Combat Team. We're told the shooter has been taken into custody and that those who were shot are recovering from their injuries at this hour. On X and on Truth Social, you see it right there from Truth Social. White House Press Secretary Karen Leavitt says the president was briefed on the matter and that the White House at that time monitoring the situation. We're also learning that the FBI's Atlanta's Savannah office is aware of that incident, of course, at Fort Stewart. They're coordinating with the Army Criminal Investigation Division for any assistance that might be needed. So we'll bring you the latest as we get it here at the network. Meantime, later today, of course, which is about an hour from now, the president expected to make an announcement about a major investment for our country. But I'm sure he'll be speaking about this news, of course, out of Georgia as well. And we'll hear what kind of questions are asked to him. But in the meantime, specifically about this event, that announcement will be at 4:30 from the Oval Office. Bloomberg reporting that the president will announce that Apple will commit to spend another $100 billion on domestic manufacturing, bringing that total to $600 billion. So quite the investment there. Another story we're tracking is that 8 days ago, President Trump gave Russia a 10-day deadline, which is this Friday, for Russia to make a deal with Ukraine, or that Russia would face sanctions by way of added tariffs. We also know that the United States Special Envoy Steve Witkoff met with Vladimir Putin at the Kremlin today. At about 1 Eastern, President Trump said the following, quote, "My Special Envoy Steve Witkoff just had a highly productive meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Great progress was made. Afterwards, I updated some of our European allies. The president says everyone agrees this war must come to a close, and we will work towards that in the days and weeks to come. Thank you for your attention to this matter," end quote. So, of course, we'll monitor any developments from the Russia-Ukraine conflict as well. Another story we're tracking, of course, the U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi. Of course, we know this from a day and a half or so ago, maybe 2 days now at this point, directed the DOJ to open the criminal grand jury investigation into the Russia hoax, where alleged bad actors tried to subvert the will of the American people and stop President Trump in what many are calling acts of seditious conspiracy. So we'll see how that goes when it comes to the DOJ there. Speaking of other cases, the DOJ looking at the Epstein case. What we know is just yesterday, the Kentucky Congressman James Comer posted the following on X, saying specifically that the House Oversight Committee is compelling the following individuals to appear for depositions through issued subpoenas. This is all regarding these FBI, burn bags and the Epstein case and all of that. So the following are being deposed. So I'm going to go through the list here and the dates. This is for former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. That's on October 9th. She'll be speaking under oath and testifying at this House committee. Former President Bill Clinton on October 14th. The former U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland on October 2nd. Former FBI Director James Comey, October 7th. The former U.S. Attorney General William Barr, August 18th. The former U.S. Attorney General Alberto Gonzales, that'll be on August 26th. The former U.S. Attorney General Jeff Sessions, August 28th. A few more here. Former FBI Director Robert Mueller, September 2nd. Former U.S. Attorney General Loretta Lynch, that's September 9th. And then the former U.S. Attorney General Eric Holder on September 30th. So a lot of news to be covered there just outside of, I was about to say outside of the 24/7 news cycle, but that's all part of it. There's just a lot going on. So in law, a deposition are statements examined under oath, sometimes with the resulting statement taken down in writing and used in court in place of spoken testimony. So that's what these people are being deposed when it comes to this Epstein case. And this is, again, James Comer, the Kentucky representative, announcing that on X yesterday. If you want to check that out for yourselves, it's the entire list that I just read there. So we'll monitor the latest on these stories and more right here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Okay, so it's 3:37 Eastern Time. Let's do a quick check on X and Truth Social. I'll just on the fly, just check real quick, because that's what I was doing earlier. I was on X for a second on Truth Social, and then I saw the report about what happened at Fort Stewart. And you know how it says 1 minute ago, like that recent post? And this was all about Fort Stewart from earlier today when it comes to what happened there in Georgia. So we do have a live, is it a live video that we have from Fort Stewart? Okay, so let's go to that live video right now. Are we going to go split screen or you want to go full? Okay, let's go to that full right now.
Angel Tomko, that's spelled A-N-G-E-L. Last name is Tomko, T-O-M-K-O, and I'm the spokesperson for the 3rd Infantry Division. Today we're here to discuss the incident that took place earlier today on the north side of Fort Stewart installation at the 2nd Armored Brigade Combat Team footprint. In just a moment, I'm going to introduce you to Brigadier General John Lubis. That's spelled J-O-H-N, Lubis, L-U-B-A-S. He's the commanding general of the 3rd Infantry Division. Brigadier General Lubis will make a statement regarding the incident and take a few brief questions. Before we begin, however, I'd like to go over just a couple things with you. We have limited time for questions given that this is an ongoing investigation, and we may not have all the information that we can share, but we will try to be as transparent as possible. We will not release the name of any victims until the next of kin notification has been complete. We will not speculate as to any intentions, motives, or backstories, given that this is an ongoing investigation. When you ask your questions, we ask that you please give your name and the affiliation in case we need to do a follow-up. And it's a little hard to hear, so please speak up so that General Lubis can hear you and that you can hear him. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I will now turn it over to General Lubis.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining us. This morning, shortly before 11 o'clock, an active duty soldier assigned to Fort Stewart, Georgia, shot and wounded 5 of his fellow soldiers here on Fort Stewart. Thankfully, all are in stable condition and all are expected to recover. The alleged shooter is in custody. We have reestablished security. I have lifted all lockdown measures on Fort Stewart, and there is currently no threat to the local community. I'd like to recognize and thank our Army law enforcement and medical personnel and our partners from local, state, and federal law enforcement and emergency services for their quick response and support. I would also like to thank the brave soldiers who immediately intervened and subdued the shooter. These soldiers, without a doubt, prevented further casualties. Our wounded soldiers were initially evacuated to Wynn Army Community Hospital right here on Fort Stewart. All arrived in stable condition, and 3 of the 5 required surgical intervention. 2 have been transported to Memorial Hospital in Savannah, Georgia for additional care. We have identified the alleged shooter as Sergeant Cornelius Radford, an automated logistics sergeant assigned to 2nd Brigade Combat Team. Sergeant Radford has not previously deployed to combat. Sergeant Radford has been interviewed by the Army Criminal Investigation Division and is currently in pretrial confinement, awaiting a charging decision by the Office of the Special Trial Counsel. Right now, our primary focus is first on caring for our injured soldiers and their families, and also supporting the soldiers of the Spartan Brigade. All of the families of the victims have been notified, and we're wrapping our arms around them and ensuring we provide them all the support that we can. Before I take questions, I want to remind you that this is an ongoing investigation and we're still gathering questions. And ladies and gentlemen, I'll now take your questions.
General Lewis will be in Coastal News. Can you give us what unit he was assigned to and how long he served in the Army? If you didn't mention that.
Yeah, he is assigned to one of our sustainment units here in 2nd Brigade Combat Team at Fort Stewart, and I will have to confirm how long he served with us. Yes, sir.
Responding with the Associated Press, as best you can, knowing it's still early, can you walk us through where this happened, what happened in the shooting, and were the victims subordinate to the sergeants, or were they people over him in rank?
Yeah, right now it's premature, and we're gathering a lot of the information. What we know is this soldier, the shooting occurred at the soldier's place of work. It did involve his co-workers. We're still not certain about the motivations, but again, he's been interviewed by Army investigators, and we believe we'll gain more information here shortly. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. We don't have any reason to believe it had anything to do with a training event. Other than that, I can't state the motivations for this soldier.
We've heard that the shooter may have been from Jacksonville, Florida. Are you able to confirm that? We also heard that he has maybe been arrested for DUI recently.
Yeah, at this point, I can't confirm where he's from. We can follow up on that. I do believe he was arrested locally for a DUI that was unknown to his chain of command until the event occurred, and we started looking into the law enforcement databases.
Robin, now from the current, can you tell us whether or not that was a military weapon or whether this was a personal weapon that the person brought with him?
Yes, ma'am. I can confirm it was not a military weapon, and we believe it was a personal handgun. Yes, sir.
What does this mean for ongoing security measures in this situation
Yeah, I'm very confident in the security of this installation. We've got a great partnership with local law enforcement. As you can see here at our gates, we have armed guards in protective equipment. This one's a bit difficult, and we're going to have to determine how he was able to get a handgun to his place of duty.
Alicia, witness for Jack. Has the suspect had any prior disciplinary or behavioral issues on base?
No, ma'am, not that we're aware of. But again, it's early in the investigation, but not that I'm currently aware of. I don't have the details on that, but I know that his soldiers in the area that witnessed the shooting immediately and without hesitation tackled the soldiers, subdued him, that allowed law enforcement to then take him into custody.
And we've had time for one more question.
I know that you can't speak to the motivation, but if this turns out to be some situation where somebody had extremist beliefs or maybe classified as a terrorist attack, how does that change the base's response or the base's investigation moving forward?
Yeah, currently we have no reason to believe any of that is the case. However, we continuously assess the threat environment, both in the immediate area and across our Army and DoD installations, and we will address the threat level accordingly. Yes, sir. He was a sergeant. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your questions, and again, thanks to the local responders and the local community for their help. Thanks, and have a great afternoon.
Thank you, sir. Hey, I'm going to give you the proper spelling of. Excuse me. I'm going to give you the spelling of the assailant. The first name is Cornelius. It's spelled Q-U-O-R-N-E-L-I-U-S. Last name is Radford. R-A-D-F-O-R-D. Radford. He's 28 years old.
Okay, so moments ago in Georgia, so the latest that we just learned there from Fort Stewart in Georgia, 5 soldiers were shot. All are in stable condition. Fellow soldiers stopped the gunman. The suspect is Army Sergeant Cornelius Radford. We're told Radford never served in combat, and at this point, no motive is known. We listened to that there, and a nice list brought to you by Breaking 911 as well. So we saw a lot of the information right there about that event that took place at about 11 this morning. Earlier today we were saying we would bring you the latest as we get it. We just received that information right there as it's 3:46 Eastern time. Before we continue on with our broadcast, getting ready for the president there, we have a live interview coming up at 4 o'clock. We'll get to that in just a bit, of course. Let's go to some of our sponsors as we get ready to go to our next segment. The fight for medical freedom, of course, is real, and All Family Pharmacy is doing something about it. So they just lowered prices by up to 25% on ivermectin and mebendazole. So making these medications easier and more affordable for families across America to stay prepared. So you don't need to wait in a doctor's office or deal with insurance. All Family Pharmacy works with licensed doctors who review your request online, write the prescription, and they ship quickly to your door. So you get trusted medication, fast, without the hassle, gatekeeping, or inflated costs. Just real access to real medicine. You can check them out and you can get what you need. They have more than 200 medications available, all from a pharmacy that's on your side. So it's allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. You can use that RSBN 10 promo code for an extra 10% off. That's allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. As it's 3:47, let's go to one more sponsor, angelpaste.com. Use that RSBN promo code. You can get that flagship product right there, the Miracle Cream. There's a number of other products you can check out as well. Again, they hire military veterans, and they have great products, and they've been a long-time sponsor, and it's great to see them here with us, angelpaste.com. Isn't it great to work with conservative people? You know, it's a little easier in your workday, I would imagine, especially when we have great sponsors like this. So angelpaste.com. A great sponsor here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. All right, so about 12 minutes before the top of the hour, looking live there, right outside of the West Wing of the White House. To the left, you see the green there. That's where the media does their live shots. So you usually see the White House over their shoulder. Well, that's exactly where they stand. This is where people like Tom Homan or Carolyn Levitt or others, sometimes after they're doing a live hit on one of the networks, and we'll have some great people coming on the broadcast here in just a minute as well. But the point is, we'll go there live if we see anybody of note that will be there at the stakeout location outside the White House. Meantime, of course, later today, or in about 40 minutes from now, the president is expected to make that announcement about a major investment for our country. Specifically, that announcement will be from the Oval Office. Bloomberg reporting that the president will announce that Apple will commit to spend another $100 billion on domestic manufacturing, bringing that total to $600 billion. So, an announcement there from the president on the way. Also, I'm sure he'll speak about Georgia and what happened there at Fort Stewart. And then on top of that, at the end, what we usually see, of course, are the reporters asking questions to the commander-in-chief. So we'll have that in its entirety for you here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. All right, so for those of you that have not joined us until just now, thank you guys so much for joining us, that joined us at 2:30. I want to share with you and just review a few of the fresh content that we have from various social media platforms, everything from Truth Social to X. Also a shout out to Truth Plus out there, conservative media on the right side of history. It's great to see a place that you can watch RSBN and other conservative outlets. So it's pretty awesome to see that. Thank you guys for watching wherever you are watching right now, including Rumble and on out there in the country and in some cases around the world. All right, so we're about 10 minutes from the top of the hour. So nearly 250,000 people watched Right Side Broadcasting Network just yesterday, and that number is growing throughout all of our platforms as the president signed an executive order creating a White House Olympic task force for the 2028 Summer Games in Los Angeles. Take a look at that video. Okay, so that, of course, just yesterday over in the Eisenhower Executive Office building. So if you are facing that way right there, it would be to your left is where that building is. Great to see the president there yesterday talking about the Olympics. I know it's a little bit far away from now, but did you know that flag football and lacrosse and baseball and softball and squash and cricket, they're all new sports going to be being played and competing for gold in Los Angeles in July. I believe it's July 14th that the games will start there in Los Angeles, California. So that task force created, that was a video from just yesterday. Now, in the meantime, for any naysayers out there, I've seen a few comments out there, not many, but when I do see them, some people say, oh, well, you're not going to talk about, the DNI investigation with Tulsi Gabbard and the fact that the Russia hoax, and the investigation from the DOJ with the criminal grand jury. Well, I just talked about that, and then we've talked about it a lot as well. And also, when it comes to James Comer, bringing out this whole list of people that are being subpoenaed to talk about the Epstein case. So these are two stories we're monitoring here at the network, on top of monitoring all of the 24/7 just day of news, including the awful event there at Fort Stewart from earlier today. So I just wanted to say that quickly here as it's 3:52 Eastern time. Let's go through a few more videos before our 4 o'clock interview. Let's go to RFK Jr., who spoke about mRNA technology just yesterday. Take a look.
Hi, it's Robert F. Kennedy Jr. here, your HHS secretary. At HHS, we have a division called the Biomedical Advanced Research and Development Authority, or BARDA. BARDA drives some of our most advanced scientific research. It funds developments of vaccines, drugs, diagnostics, and other tools to fight emerging diseases and national health threats. Over the past few weeks, BARDA reviewed 22 mRNA vaccine development investments and began canceling them. Let me explain why. Most of these shots are for flu or COVID, but as the pandemic showed us, mRNA vaccines don't perform well against viruses that infect the upper respiratory tract. Here's the problem. mRNA only codes for a small part of the viral proteins, usually a single antigen. One mutation, and the vaccine becomes ineffective. This dynamic drives a phenomenon called antigenic shift, meaning that the vaccine paradoxically encourages new mutations and can actually prolong pandemics as the virus constantly mutates to escape the protective effects of the vaccine. Millions of people, maybe even you or someone you know, caught the Omicron variant despite being vaccinated. That's because a single mutation can make mRNA vaccines ineffective. The same risk applies to flu. After reviewing the science and consulting top experts at NIH and FDA, HHS has determined that mRNA technology poses more risks than benefits for these respiratory viruses. That's why, after extensive review, BARDA has begun the process of terminating these 22 contracts totaling just under $500 million. To replace the troubled mRNA programs, we're prioritizing the development of safer, broader vaccine strategies, like whole virus vaccines and novel platforms that don't collapse when viruses mutate. Let me be absolutely clear. HHS supports safe, effective vaccines for every American who wants them. That's why we're moving beyond the limitations of mRNA for respiratory viruses and investing in better solutions. Thank you.
Produced by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
All right, great to see RFK Jr. there breaking down information about the mRNA technology. Meantime, before we get on to our next photo that we'll show you of the Speedway out there in Indiana. If you don't know what I mean, just hold on just for a second here, as we do want to talk about one sponsor here with Cove Pure. Cove Pure is great. If you don't want to drink tap water anymore, this is the place to go. I know there's options out there, but this one is looking awesome right here. So Utah and Florida, actually, they just passed bills to ban fluoride in water supplies. So why are all these states suddenly doing a massive U-turn on fluoride when they've been adding it to our water for about 80 years? I was going to say 8 decades. Well, RFK Jr. has been warning us about fluoride for a while, and the government now admits to the fact that fluoride is linked to lower IQ. So in a study done by JAMA Pediatrics, one of those top medical journals, scientists found that fluoride levels over 2 milligrams per liter of water cause more than a 2-point drop in children's IQ scores. So that's why we're proud to partner with Cove Pure. Cove Pure is a water filtration system that sits on your countertop. You don't have to drill any holes or call a plumber to set it up. Just fill it with tap water, plug it in, and it gets straight to work. So their ClearWave technology is certified to remove up to 99.9% of impurities in your water. So anything that's not water, things like fluoride, pharmaceuticals, and even forever chemicals, they all get filtered out, leaving you with pure water. So once you try Cove Pure water, you're not going back to tap water. It makes your water taste so much better. The best part is it has a touch screen that lets you choose whatever temperature you want, so cold, hot, warm, that kind of thing. It couldn't be easier. So if you happen to like fluoride, that's totally fine, of course. You can get that through toothpaste and mouthwash, but of course the government should never force you to ingest it. So take back your right to choose there with clicking below or going to covepure.com/RSBN. And for a limited time only, you'll get a special discount. This is $200 off Cove Pure. There's the website, covepure.com/RSBN. Speaking of that, let's go to mypillow.com/RSBN. The My Coffee is great. The pillows, wonderful. The mattress topper, awesome. The slippers, the slides, the towels, all of the products you see there. The Giza Dream Sheets, legit, they're really good. So just go to mypillow.com/RSBN. If maybe you have had the slippers for 3 years and you just want a new pair or whatever, go for it. mypillow.com/RSBN. As we continue to partner with great sponsors here at the network, also all of it is really investing into, I believe, a conservative media future, but also really helping out when it comes to buying on the conservative side of history, right? Or on the right side of history, so which is conservative. In my opinion, because it has to do with God, family, and country, the basics, right? So mypillow.com/RSBN, great Mike Lindell right there, and a great company. As it's $358 right now. So let's talk about alligator Alcatraz for a second as we're waiting for President Trump. We've got about a half an hour yet. I believe we have a live interview coming up any minute from now. Looking forward to that. But that is not alligator Alcatraz, because now there's a part two. It's called the Speedway Slammer, and it's in Indiana. So there's two places where illegal criminal aliens, or just criminal or illegals in general, will be processed, housed, and deported. So there's one in Florida, aka Alligator Alcatraz. Then there's one in Indiana, now called Speedway Slammer, and that is from the Homeland Security website, or the X page there. Has the Indy car with the word ICE emblazoned on the side of it and on the wall of turn whatever one you want to pick, turn 2 maybe. And it says the Speedway Slammer, and using the checkered flag there. That was reposted on X by the White House. This is part of what we're seeing out there. You know, when we vote for what President Trump said on the campaign, talking about building the wall and talking about the immigration situation, and he'd always read the snake poem, right? When we've covered a number of those events. How about all of them? Since 2015, I think. That's a lot of rallies. Anyway, so this is what it's about. I mean, President Trump, when he started out January 20th of this year, he said, well, it's a national emergency on the southern border, so we're going to declare that, and we're going to do a lot. We're going to seal the southern border, so the military's down there. We're going to play one of those videos here in just a second. And then on top of that, the ICE mass deportation operation. So yeah, we're seeing a lot happen here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. I know you guys are seeing it too. We're covering as many of the stories as possible, especially when it has a national interest and also would affect the country. So we're doing our best to do that, and we're thankful to all of you that are watching here on this live stream broadcast, as it's now 4 o'clock, top of the hour here on Wednesday, August 6th. Let's do this. Let's go to one of those videos from the border as we await our next live interview. That is from the U.S. military using drones along the Arizona southern border to track any drug cartel or illegal aliens trying to cross the border. Check it out.
1000 AGO.
Yeah. Which one is that? It might be. Yeah, come on.
All right, so, sources at Customs Border Protection, I was speaking to someone at the Eisenhower Executive Office building when we traveled to the White House complex a couple months back, was saying that the drug cartel, this terrorist organization, and others were using drones to monitor the moves of the military, Customs Border Protection, and parts of the wall and all that kind of thing. Well, Well, now we see what we're doing. Our military is using drones as well to monitor, it's that eyes in the sky in a way for what's happening on the other side of the border there. So that video from the Department of Defense. We also have one more video from the Department of Defense when it comes to the southern border as we await the president in about 27 minutes from now. This is the Marines, the United States Marines, man. They're awesome, just like all of our branches of our military. Thank God for our military. Thank God for way back in the day, 1776, 1775 with George Washington. That without the military, we would have not had what we have today. So let's go to the U.S. Marines. This is in California. They're reinforcing the border wall there. These are videos that are pretty fresh within the 24/7 news cycle. So here's one from just about a week and a half ago. Check it out.
One week turns into 2 weeks, 2 weeks turns into 3 turns into a month.
All right, so they're reinforcing the southern border wall. I mean, did you see how tall that thing is? Wow. And then they're putting that concertina wire there. So, yeah, you're not climbing over that thing. So, and that is also, seeing the rest of the wall get built. There's still a lot of mileage yet. There's a lot of mileage of new wall, but now that the big, beautiful law is law, the money's there to finish that wall and also to build that golden dome for America and so many other things, the taxes going down, all that different stuff. So looking forward to seeing all the gains for all of that as it's 4:06 Wednesday, August 6th. All right, let's go to the Secretary of Transportation, Sean Duffy. He held a press conference within that 24/7 cycle as well, where the topic was unleashing American drone dominance. Take a look.
I think it's only right that America lead, because we have led in aviation since the very beginning. We are now going to also lead in the drone space as well.
Hey everyone, welcome to USDOT. Today we're unleashing American drone dominance. It is a great day to be an American.
It was pretty cool to see that. And if you need to see any of the stuff in context as well, we aired the entire press conference with Sean Duffy pretty recently and the Q&A session just about drones and that kind of thing for our country. So you can always watch. If you don't watch us live, you can always watch us on replay. And the replay doesn't mean it's that old, really. I mean, we are really sticking to the latest, freshest news as possible, but also you can always follow us on Truth Social, on X, go to our website, and just really monitor the latest news that we're seeing here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. Okay, let's go to President Trump's Truth Social as we're going to do a Trump on Truth segment. We'll take a quick commercial break after that, and then maybe we'll do a little bit of a Way Back Wednesday segment because it is Wednesday, so why not, right? All right, so it's 4:07. Let's go to President Trump's Truth Social page. We know that he was saying earlier about his special envoy, Steve Witkoff, that he just had a highly productive meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Great progress was made. Afterwards, the president says, I updated some of our European allies. Everyone agrees this war must come to a close, and we will work toward that in the days and weeks to come. The president saying, thank you for your attention to this matter. Also, the president saying about 4 hours ago, I am proud to be the only president, with the possible exception of the late, great George Washington, to donate my salary. My first paycheck went to the White House Historical Association as we make much needed renovations to the beautiful People's House. Great improvements and beautification is taking place at the White House at levels not seen since its original creation. Make America great again. All right, it's 4:08. Let's take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back here on Right Side Broadcasting Network.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First news. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
Welcome back to RSBN Live. Looking forward to seeing the president there. He's going to talk about the fact that, well, Bloomberg is saying that Apple is going to invest another $100 billion into the United States. So you're talking upwards of now $600 billion in manufacturing investments and that kind of thing. So we'll see if there's any other details within that framework. On top of that, I'm sure the president will talk about Fort Stewart, what happened in Georgia. And then on top of that, we'll hear from some of the reporters there, as I'm sure they'll have plenty of questions, and then we'll see that back and forth. You know, speaking of the back and forth when it comes to President Trump and reporters, man, how about that way back in the day? Let's do a Way Back Wednesday right now without the video. We'll talk about it. And then we're also queuing up a video for a Way Back Wednesday. If there's time, we'll go to it. In the meantime, you know, you think about, and I've brought it up before, but that time in the East Room of the White House where the press was in there, President Trump standing there at the podium, and Jim Acosta trying to ask a question about caravans of people coming into the country, which later turned out to be, and it was happening at the same time, but later turned out to be way true of what was happening. There were actual caravans of people, and Acosta was all against that. And, you know, he kept trying to keep the microphone away from the White House staff, and President Trump saying, "Sit down, you're fake news." And, you know, then the next guy from the other network said, "Well, I respect Jim Acosta," and then President Trump said to him, "Well, I don't particularly care for you either." And just this back and forth, man. You just don't really see that from presidents. Pretty cool to see it because it's all about resonating with the American people, being on the right side of history, not taking someone's you-know-what, their crap, you know, and just saying, no, this is not the way it's going to fly anymore. And so the bar has been really set really high for a next president of the United States, because we the people want someone that's going to resonate with the American people. We want someone that is all about common sense and peace through strength and all these things, right? Make America great again. That's going to be around forever. I think it will be, because all of us in this country, the majority of the people that voted for President Trump for 3 straight elections, all wanted the same thing. We wanted common sense, we wanted truth, we want the Constitution to be the law of the land, we want freedom, we want all the things, right? All the basic USA things, the US of A, the land of the free, the home of the brave, the stuff that we don't have to reinvent the wheel when it comes to. Freedom, you know, you think about how we have affected so many places out there when it comes to freedom. You look at places like Hungary right now. They say make Hungary great again. You know, Jair Bolsonaro says make Brazil great again when he was the president of Brazil, and he still should be. You know, on and on and on. So there's just that kind of thing that we want to see for our future in this country. We know the 20 core promises. We've talked about them a lot here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. We've also brought on a number of guests that say, well, hey, we love these wins that are happening, but we'd also like to see the following. We want to see the DOJ investigate, things like Russia hoax and other things. If there's evidence and receipts, then there has to be someone that's held accountable or people that are held accountable. Well, the DOJ is now opening that investigation, and there are other crimes that have happened. So let's see where the evidence and receipts and the courts and all that, see how it all plays out. Because we saw all the lawfare against President Trump and against the people. We saw what happened to him in Butler, Pennsylvania. I mean, all of that attack against the free world. And so we want to make sure that all the so-called bad actors, if there's evidence and receipts that they broke the law, no one is above the law. So then let's get this thing done. That's what we want. I feel like an Italian today. That's what we want. And I am, by the way. My mom's side is Italian, Sicilian, born in Brooklyn. And my dad's side, my grandpa was born in Cuba. But anyway, enough of that. All right, so it's 4:14 Eastern time. Director, do we have that way back Wednesday? Okay, so we have about a minute until we get to that way back Wednesday. It's going to be fun to play it because it was a time when I think there was about, and no kidding aside, 6 million people watching on all of our social platforms. So everything from Rumble to YouTube to X to Truth Social to our app, just everywhere that we play, right? You have an app maybe on Apple TV or Roku or wherever. Well, there was 5 million people that watched because we count the views, we see all the views and all that. And there was about 5 million on election night. Remember when I was here with Robert McNeely sitting to my left, your right, and Christina Loren to your left, my right, and we covered the election that night. And we saw President Trump win. And it was great to call various states, including all those swing states. And then the January 20th inauguration, we covered that as well, of course. And we saw Robert McNeely and Megan Kohler, who were in Washington, D.C., covering that. And so for this Way Back Wednesday, we're going to go to a little bit of a segment as President Trump just won, or just was inaugurated as the president. A lot of different live events happened through the course of that day, but this was his drive from the U.S. Capitol building. If you remember, it was extremely cold outside, so it was held inside. So this is the president on his way to the White House. So as soon as we get that video, we'll just play it for just a few minutes as we await the president. And as we await a possible interview, we had one scheduled for 4 o'clock, but if it doesn't work out, we always can fill that time as well. But also, it's great to have a number of people join us over the past few days, and of course today with Newsbusters, Media Research Center. So we had someone from that team join us earlier today. So looking forward to airing this Way Back Wednesday here for you, as it's about 14 minutes or so from the President of the United States. We'll see him speaking about this manufacturing agreement. Again, we're told, and we're seeing reports from Bloomberg, that this is going to be about a $100 billion investment from Apple. So you're talking now $600 billion into our American economy. And it'll be interesting. Apple usually makes their products overseas. So will we see Apple distribution centers in the United States of America? Looks like that's what we're going to see through these kinds of investments. On top of that, of course, we're tracking the latest story out of Georgia today. I know President Trump will be talking about that just because it's common sense. I know he'll mention something about that, as Carolyn Levitt did earlier, that the president was briefed on that situation in Fort Stewart. And just to review that, what we were told from a press conference there is that the latest from Fort Stewart in Georgia is that 5 soldiers were shot. All are in stable condition. Fellow soldiers stopped the gunman. The suspect was an Army sergeant, or is an Army sergeant, Cornelius Radford. We're told Radford never served in combat, and at this point, no motive is known. That suspect is now in custody. So that's the latest from Fort Stewart. All right, maybe we can keep a split screen, if we can, Director, a little bit. So we don't want anybody to think we're just going to a recording and that's it for the day. But here's January 20th, 2025. Check it out for this Way Back Wednesday. You know, it's funny, the audio for some reason is not working, so there's your Way Back Wednesday. Anyway, if you want to see it, it's on my Truth Social at Matthew Alvarez. This was a moment in time when we were talking about the president just arriving back. Actually, Director, could we play the video on a split screen and I can narrate a little bit of what it was like? All right, cool. We're going to get that going here. We just go on the fly here sometimes as we are awaiting the president here at about 4:30. But yeah, what that was like, you know, we were thanking God for the victory for President Trump and for our country. And, you know, we want to continually see these wins that we are seeing throughout our country, but also the investigations. And we're looking into all of them in the sense of monitoring the latest. This was that night. That was January 20th, 2025. The president in the vehicle there. You could see the U.S. Capitol in the background. This was way back there, of course, was where the president was inaugurated. Just showing this today, of course, as it's Wednesday. I like Way Back Wednesday, Throwback Thursday, that kind of thing. But anyway, so you see that video there. And this was the day that about 6 million people were watching Right Side on various social platforms, and just wanted to bring it up again. You would have had more of the moment of it if we had our audio working with it, but that's all right. We'll just go with the video. But we know, of course, President Trump, you know, overcame so much over the lawfare over the years, and then we saw what was happening to him. I mean, I remember back in, I think it was April 4th of 2023, when President Trump was indicted over some ridiculous lawfare situation. He had to sit in all those courtrooms. His house was raided. We had the Russia hoax. He takes on one person trying to take his life in Butler, another person to try and take his life in West Palm Beach. Like, it was unbelievable. We saw that even at the RNC, President Trump's like, nope, the show must go on. And he went out there with that ear patch. I remember covering an event in Grand Rapids, Michigan, where he, a week later after Butler, the vice president, or the vice presidential candidate, J.D. Vance, walks out to the stage. It was a really cool looking basketball hockey arena. And he announced that, you know, ladies and gentlemen, the next president of the United States, and the place erupted. You know, it was a very, very loud experience there. But outside of the emotion, outside of the goosebumps, outside of how much everybody was chanting USA, echoing through that whole place in Michigan, was a man that has been facing so much for we the people. And he stood there and delivered a great speech. And outside of the speeches, the actions are speaking louder than the words. He said, as a core promise, that we're going to seal the southern border. As soon as he was inaugurated on that day, we saw what happened right away. President Trump didn't wait. He was signing executive orders at Capital One Arena in Washington, D.C., where the Washington Capitals play, where the basketball teams play and all that, and concerts and all that. He's signing executive orders. He's like, I'm not going to wait. This is serious stuff. Let's get this national emergency there on the southern border taken care of. Brings the military down there, on and on and on. We can go over the 20 core promises. I mean, these are wonderful promises. These, to me, that I've read here before on the broadcast, are important as we've seen, and especially all the way through into the future. So let's go to Stephen Miller, though, right now, I believe, speaking live outside the White House.
Brazil buys oil and fertilizer from Russia. Do you think this might increase the tariffs? Has it happened with India as well?
Well, as you know, the Brazil rates are already at 50%.
Yeah, but then we can have an extra tariff as it happened with India because of the business with Moscow?
Well, we'll certainly take a look at that. But the tariff rate, as you know, for Brazil is at 50% because of their incredibly anti-freedom policies that threaten American freedom of speech and American companies in an incredibly coercive and abusive way, as well as their unjust and unlawful detainment and imprisonment of Bolsonaro. And that's been the focus of our sanctions package on Brazil.
Any wording with the latest developments in Brazil regarding what you just mentioned?
Nothing new right now, but happy to share with you as soon as we have it.
Ask a question, if I may, about the Gaza and humanitarian aid. I read an article that the president finally wants kind of take over so that he can help better the Palestinian, but the situation with the Israeli doesn't seem so clear between Trump and Netanyahu. Can you
Well, I mean, all I can add to that, the president has spoken about this at length publicly, as you know, is that the president continues to be clear about his desire to make sure that Gazans have access to humanitarian aid, and that is a priority for the U.S. government, yes.
Mr. Miller, what are the expectations of this potential meeting between President Putin and President Trump?
Well, again, I'll just say that, to repeat what the president said over and over again, is that his interest here, he inherited Biden's war, and he wants to bring about a peace settlement, and the objective is to stop the killing. And that focus isn't going to change. Yes?
Is it true that the president intends to meet with President Putin as early as next week?
Nothing to add to what's already been said on the subject.
What
Any
about
other
the
questions?
announcement at 4 o'clock? Can you tell us about it? The big announcement that the president will make?
I'm not going to.
There was some speculation.
I'm not going to scoop the president. Any other questions?
Just a minute, yeah. So are we expecting any secondary tariffs from countries that do business with Russia?
Well, I mean, as you've seen, there was a massive secondary tariff on India of additional 25%. And it probably surprised a lot of people to know that India is one of the largest purchasers in the world of Russian oil. And probably a lot of people will be surprised to hear that because, of course, they can easily access oil from many other markets around the world. So that's a major, they are one of the largest funders of Russia's army for that reason. One last question.
A follow-up on the potential Russia meeting. Does President Trump, you're familiar with the president's thinking, do you think that he would meet with President Putin before there was a ceasefire agreed upon?
I don't want to, it's not for me to set conditions like that. I would just reiterate what I've said before, which is that President Trump has been crystal clear, going back to the very beginning, that Biden is the reason why we are in this war, and that his objective is to find a peaceful settlement so that we can stop the killing and have a humanitarian resolution so that both Russians and Ukrainians can stop dying en masse. And that remains his objective.
So Friday
Thank you.
is the Liberation Day confirmed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, talking about Steve Witkoff, of course, out there, the special envoy Steve Witkoff speaking with Vladimir Putin today at the Kremlin. President Trump's talking about that as well on Truth Social, and then the White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller as well. All right, so we're about 5 minutes away from President Trump. If it's on time, we'll see. And in the meantime, the fight for medical freedom is real, and All Family Pharmacy is doing something about it. So they just lowered their prices by up to 25% on ivermectin and mebendazole, making these medications easier and more affordable for families across America to stay prepared. So you don't need to wait in a doctor's office or deal with insurance. All Family Pharmacy works with licensed doctors who review your request online, write the prescription, and they ship quickly to your door. You get trusted medication without the hassle, gatekeeping, or inflated costs. So just real access to real medicine. Check them out and get what you need. They have over 200 medications available, all from a pharmacy that's on your side. So it's allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Use that RSBN 10 promo code for an extra 10% off. That's allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. If you'd like to donate to Right Side Broadcasting Network, you can do so by going to rsbnetwork.com/donate. Also, text RSBN to 801-801. Two great places to donate if you'd like to. Again, this is giving into literally conservative media, because the corporations that are woke, they're not going to sponsor with us, and maybe they will. I don't know how that would work. I don't know if we'd want them. And we're very, we're picky with what we do here. But the point is, we have right side of history people here when it comes to sponsorships. But outside of our great sponsors, those of you that would like to donate to the network, this really is investing into conservative media. Robert McNeely has a new show called Voice of Reason on Thursday nights at 6 o'clock. We've seen our RSBN host Megan Kohler and Christina Loren join us live throughout various broadcasts. I'd like to bring them on some more here and interview them live over the airwaves, because these are people that are all across our country, that are people that you got used to seeing out there at all these rallies as we continue to cover the president. So if you'd like to give to Right Side Broadcasting Network, obviously it's free to watch us, but it's not free to do everything we're doing. So if you'd like to, go ahead. If you can't do it right now, totally understand where you're coming from, as it's 427. Let's go to one more thing, though. If you do want to mail us cash or a check, because I was told that there's some people that are saying we want to send a check. Well, this is where you do it. There's a box, 344 box, so it's 1550 Opelika Road, Suite 6, Box 344, Auburn, Alabama 36830. All right, so 428, Wednesday, August 6th. Another story, of course, that we've been following is that story about Russia and Ukraine. So President Trump said, I guess 8 days ago now, that Russia has that 10-day deadline. So that's this Friday coming up for Russia to make a deal with Ukraine. Or what would happen is Russia would face sanctions by way of added tariffs. We also know, again, that the United States Special Envoy, as I mentioned earlier, Steve Witkoff, met with Vladimir Putin at the Kremlin today. And at about 1 o'clock Eastern time, the president on Truth Social said the following, quote, "My Special Envoy, Steve Witkoff, just had a highly productive meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin." The president said earlier that great progress was made. Afterwards, I updated some of our European allies. The president also said that everyone agrees that this war must come to a close, and we will work towards that in the days and weeks to come. Thank you for your attention to this matter, end quote. So, yeah, a lot of news headlines, a lot going on out there, not only in your specific neck of the woods, all the way throughout our country and throughout the globe, because when you look at it from that 30,000-foot perspective, you want to see from at least our country's standpoint, the United States Constitution and the law of the land being the law of the land from now until forever, until the end of time, until Jesus returns, So that's what the right side of history, a lot of people that voted for President Trump, which is the majority of the country, a huge, huge, huge percentage of this country on the right side of history. And those that are on the left that are into more of the woke mind virus and that kind of thing and against God, family, country, that kind of thing, well, maybe one day they will kind of see the light a little bit. And, one thing that we have in common, to be honest, the Bible says, for all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. So all of us are on that page. So now we overcome through, and those that believe in Jesus, salvation and forgiveness of sin and that kind of thing, right? But, and if you're not a Christian, I'm glad you're watching, because you know what? This is all about conservative values and freedom and capitalism and the United States Constitution. We're all in the same boat, politically speaking, as well. Looking forward to just seeing, hopefully, more people wake up. And I'm not only talking about the left. There are some people, I believe, and I've talked to a few guests about this on the right side of the aisle as well, that maybe because we know that President Trump is in that building, everything's going to be okay. Well, there's truth to that, but we also have to still pray, work hard, vote, get out that vote in the midterms, right? There's still a lot of work that still needs to be done. Also, on top of that, those that are the bad actors, if anybody broke the law, they have to be held accountable. So we don't have something crazy in our country in the future. We want to stay as the United States of America and with the United States Constitution. I know I repeat myself with that, but I have to sometimes, because I'm not trying to talk some confusing narrative. It's the common sense narrative, and 1 + 1 = 2. And on the left-wing media, they'll swear by it. They'll say 1 + 1 = 3. It equals 3. And we all are waking up and being like, nah, you guys are lying. It's 2. 1 + 1 = 2. Thank you. Anyway, it's 4:31, so 4:32 now at the bottom of the hour. So this is the scheduled time for this new production deal, this manufacturing announcement. Again, monitoring all sorts of news out there right now, but we do know that this major investment for our country, this announcement will happen any minute from now. Bloomberg reporting that the president will announce that Apple will commit to spend another $100 billion on domestic manufacturing, bringing that total to the $600 billion. And just for fun, a lot of you might be watching on your phone right now. If you'd like, and if you're in the comments section, whether it's Rumble or YouTube or wherever you're watching, just type in there, do you have an iPhone or do you have a Droid? Now, if you don't want to type that, I get it. Privacy, totally get it, trust me. Don't do it, but if you want to. Anyway, just thought it'd be kind of fun to see how many people are using Apple products out there. We know, I am. We know the president does too. Do you remember back in the day, the BlackBerry or the Nokia candy bar phone? I had one of those, or the Motorola Razr. I know there's a Razr out there these days too, but Talk about way back Wednesday. All right, anyway, so it's 4:33 Eastern time. Looking at Washington, D.C. here live on this Wednesday, August 6th. Hopefully those of you that have enjoyed your summer have went on vacations already. I know that for those of you that have kids in school, that's getting all back to school. I cannot believe back to school sales happen in like July. I remember when I was a kid, man, we had to go to school to the end of August or early September. The kids got to go to school now in what, this week, next week? I don't know. My wife and I have a 10-month-old, so she's not in school yet. Anyway, so 4:33 Eastern time. Let me double check on X and Truth Social quickly, just to double check if there's any breaking news at this point that we're following. The latest news is that story out of Fort Stewart, Georgia, and they did hold a press conference minutes ago about that. So if you're just joining us, Director, can we go to that press conference and maybe we can keep a split screen, keep the White House up there so we know that folks will be able to watch as soon as we see the president as well. The press conference from the Army earlier about Fort Stewart. Okay, so we're going to get that in just a minute as I'm checking out any of the latest posts. We're seeing that the New York Times is posting something via Breaking 911 that President Trump will meet with Vladimir Putin as early as next week. President Trump to meet with Vladimir Putin as early as next week, that according to the New York Times. We'll see if that comes to fruition. Shout out to, I believe his name, I'll get back to that in just a second. I forgot the guy's name at the New York Times, but he is a great photographer there. And I believe he's on the right side of history, to be honest with you, but who knows? Oh, Doug Mills is the guy. All right, so before we go to the Fort Stewart latest for that press conference, let's go to one of our sponsors here before we do that as we stand by for the President of the United States. So Cove Pure is one of our great sponsors, and Utah, anybody watching in Utah, from Utah out there or Florida, just passed bills to ban fluoride in the water supply. So why are these states suddenly doing a massive U-turn on fluoride when they've been adding it to our water for the last 80 years? Well, RFK Jr. has been warning us about fluoride for a while, and the government now admits to the fact that fluoride is actually linked to lower IQ. In a study done by JAMA Pediatrics, this is one of those top medical journals, scientists are saying that they found that fluoride levels over 2 milligrams per liter of water cause more than a 2-point drop in children's IQ scores. So that's why we're proud to partner with Cove Pure. Cove Pure is a water filtration system that sits on your countertop. You don't have to drill any holes or call a plumber to set it up. Just fill it with tap water, plug it in, and it gets straight to work. So their ClearWave technology is certified to remove up to 99.9% of impurities in your water. So anything that isn't water, meaning fluoride, pharmaceuticals, and even forever chemicals, gets filtered out, leaving you with pure water. So once you try Cove Pure, you're not going to go back to tap water. If you like tap water, please tell me. Somebody tell me you don't like tap water. I don't like it. Ugh. But anyway, the best part of this is it has a touch screen that lets you choose whatever temperature you want. So cold, hot, warm. It couldn't be easier. If you happen to like fluoride, obviously that's totally fine. You can get that through toothpaste and mouthwash. But of course, the government should never force you to ingest it. So take back your right to choose here with this choice of water that's filtered versus tap water. Click below or go to the website as well, covepure.com/RSBN. And for a limited time only, you'll get a special discount of upwards of $200 off Cove Pure. So great sponsor here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. 4:37 Eastern time. We know the president's public schedule listed that this event would start at 4:30. So tap dancing a little bit as we get ready to see the president. Also, again, we usually see the president's public schedule at night, and then we know the next day what sorts of coverage we'll have. If there isn't something that happens on a day, like on Monday, we'll bring in live interviews and just cover the latest news that's out there within the conservative news sphere, if you want to call it that, sphere. So thanks again for joining us right now. So let's go to the latest from Fort Stewart in Georgia. This all happened around 11 this morning. When a gunman shot 5 people, 5 other soldiers. And the specifics that we know is that 5 soldiers were shot, but all are in stable condition. But let's go now to the press conference that lasted about 5 or 6 minutes out there in Fort Stewart, Georgia for the latest.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining us. This morning, shortly before 11 o'clock, an active duty soldier assigned to Fort Stewart, Georgia, shot and wounded 5 of his fellow soldiers here on Fort Stewart. Thankfully, all are in stable condition and all are expected to recover. The alleged shooter is in custody. We have reestablished security. I have lifted all lockdown measures on Fort Stewart, and there is currently no threat to the local community. I'd like to recognize and thank our Army law enforcement and medical personnel and our partners from local, state, and federal law enforcement and emergency services for their quick response and support. I would also like to thank the brave soldiers who immediately intervened and subdued the shooter. These soldiers, without a doubt, prevented further casualties. Our wounded soldiers were initially evacuated to Wynn Army Community Hospital right here on Fort Stewart. All arrived in stable condition, and 3 of the 5 required surgical intervention. 2 have been transported to Memorial Hospital in Savannah, Georgia for additional care. We have identified the alleged shooter as Sergeant Cornelius Radford, an automated logistics sergeant assigned to 2nd Brigade Combat Team. Sergeant Radford has not previously deployed to combat. Sergeant Radford has been interviewed by the Army Criminal Investigation Division and is currently in pretrial confinement, awaiting a charging decision by the Office of the Special Trial Counsel. Right now, our primary focus is first on caring for our injured soldiers and their families, and also supporting the soldiers of the Spartan Brigade. All of the families of the victims have been notified, and we're wrapping our arms around them and ensuring we provide them all the support that we can. Before I take questions, I want to remind you that this is an ongoing investigation and we're still gathering questions. And ladies and gentlemen, I'll now take your questions.
General Lewis will be close to move. Can you give us what unit he was assigned to and how long he served in the Army? If you didn't mention that.
Yeah, he is assigned to one of our sustainment units here in 2nd Brigade Combat Team at Fort Stewart, and I will have to confirm how long he served with us. Yes, sir.
Corresponding with the Associated Press, as best you can, knowing it's still early, can you walk us through where this happened, what happened in the shooting, and were the victims subordinate to the sergeants, or were they people over him in rank?
Yeah, right now it's premature, and we're gathering a lot of the information. What we know is this soldier, the shooting occurred at the soldier's place of work. It did involve his co-workers. We're still not certain about the motivations, but again, he's been interviewed by Army investigators, and we believe we'll gain more information here shortly. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. We don't have any reason to believe it had anything to do with a training event. Other than that, I can't state the motivations for this soldier.
We've heard that the shooter
Yes,
may
sir.
have been from Jacksonville, Florida. Are you able to confirm that? We also heard that he has maybe been arrested for DUI recently.
Yeah, at this point, I can't confirm where he's from. We can follow up on that. I do believe he was arrested locally for a DUI. That was unknown to his chain of command until the event occurred, and we started looking into the law enforcement databases.
Robin, now from the current, can you tell us whether or not that was a military weapon or whether this was a personal weapon that the person brought with them?
Yes, ma'am. I can confirm it was not a military weapon, and we believe it was a personal handgun. Yes, sir.
What does this mean for ongoing security measures in situations that
Yeah, I'm very confident in the security of this installation. We've got a great partnership with local law enforcement. As you can see here at our gates, we have armed guards in protective equipment. This one's a bit difficult, and we're going to have to determine how he was able to get a handgun to his place of duty.
Alicia News for Jax. Has the suspect had any prior disciplinary or behavioral issues on base?
No, ma'am, not that we're aware of. But again, it's early in the investigation, but not that I'm currently aware of. I don't have the details on that, but I know that his soldiers in the area that witnessed the shooting immediately and without hesitation tackled the soldier, subdued him, that allowed law enforcement to then take him into custody.
And we've got time for one more question.
I know that you can't speak to the motivation, but if this turns out to be some situation where somebody had extremist beliefs or maybe classified as a terrorist attack, I mean, how does that change the basis of response or the basis of investigation moving forward?
Yeah, currently we have no reason to believe any of that is the case. However, we continuously assess the threat environment, both in the immediate area and across our Army and DoD installations, and we will address the threat level accordingly. Yes, sir. He was a sergeant. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your questions. And again, thanks to the local responders and the local community for their help. Thanks and have a great afternoon.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so just to review again, 5 soldiers were shot. All are in stable condition, thank God. Fellow soldiers stopped the gunman. The suspect is Army Sergeant Cornelius Radford. We're told Radford never served in combat. At this point, no motive is known. Thanks to Breaking 911 on some of those stats there, just put in a nice order. But also, of course, we heard that through the spokesperson there at Fort Stewart in Georgia. Again, that was just right outside of Savannah, Georgia. That happened around 11 this morning, as it's 4:44 Eastern Time here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, 1:44 out there on the West Coast, and everybody in the Central and Mountain Time Zone. Hello to you guys. Thanks so much for streaming in. As soon as we see that feed for the president, we will go there to the Oval Office. We do see via CNBC and the fact that Carolyn Levitt posted this as well, that Tim Cook, the Apple CEO, will be in attendance for this event that is going to be talking about this new deal here that's going to happen when it comes to Apple. Again, they're going to invest another $100 billion into the American economy, into manufacturing. So that's $600 billion in total. So we'll be following that as it happens. Again, as soon as we see it, we'll take you there. I'm standing by just like you are as we are watching and waiting here. Also, we're going to go to one of our sponsors. While we do, our producers, our director will be able to see any of the live feeds. So even if you don't see it on the screen, doesn't mean we're not checking it out. So let's go to All Family Pharmacy one more time here, as we know that fighting for medical freedom is real, and All Family Pharmacy is doing something about that. They just lowered prices by up to 25% on ivermectin and mebendazole, making these medications easier and more affordable for families across America to stay prepared. So you don't need to wait in a doctor's office or deal with insurance. All Family Pharmacy actually works with licensed doctors who review your request online, write the prescription, and they ship quickly to your door. You get trusted medication fast without the hassle, gatekeeping, or inflated costs. Just real access to real medicine. Check them out and get what you need. They have over 200 medications available, all from a pharmacy that's on your side. So it's allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Use that RSBN 10 promo code for that extra 10% off. That's allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. All right, use the RSBN code on Angel Paste as well. Miracle Cream there, a lot of different products on there. So if you just go to angelpaste.com, you'll be able to see all the different products. Now, they're out of Spring, Texas, the Lone Star State. They hire military veterans, a longtime sponsor here with some great products that you can check out right there. If you're looking at maybe a gift coming up, you can get one or more on angelpaste.com and use that RSBN promo code, as it's 446 Wednesday, August 6th. Awaiting that feed there from the White House. Again, this is going to be in the Oval Office. I'm sure at this point what happens is the reporters, the cameramen and women, the people with the boom mics and all that, right? They wait right outside of the Oval Office. So when it's go time, that door opens, they all file in, and then we see a live feed, and we take it right there. So that's the inside baseball here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Of course, if you're just joining us, we've been on the air since 2:30. We've covered a lot of different stories, talked about a lot of different topics out there. We also had a great live interview earlier. So if you want to replay any of it, just for the freshest take or the latest take that we have here at Right Side, please go ahead and rewatch it. We know that a lot of you are already in the know, and that's what's cool about the information age. Whether you're on True Social or X or download our app, you start seeing, okay, well, here's a headline of a story. But we can also help to bring some context. We can bring you a live report when it comes to live press conferences, or in this case, the president here live any minute from now. So that is what RSBN Live is all about. And my name is Matthew Alvarez. Thanks so much for streaming in with us since 2:30 Eastern time. It's now 4:48. So as soon as we see the Commander-in-Chief, we'll take you there live. All right, so we talked about a lot of stories. Let's go to X again, and then we'll go to Truth Social to see if there's anything that's breaking on there when it comes to news right now. We do see that the White House reposted something here when it comes to Dr. Marty Makary with the FDA. Americans are free to eat what they want, but both taxpayer dollars and federal dietary guidelines should support healthy food choices, not ultra-processed foods and sugary drinks. That's something that the White House just posted. That's an article that came out, or a statement that came out about 55 minutes ago. And that's on X right now. Kelly Loeffler, the small business administrator, saying that our delegation had an excellent meeting with senior officials from Poland's finance ministry, where we discussed opportunities in strengthening our bilateral economic and financial cooperation. The strong partnership will continue to drive growth and prosperity. And a shout out to Poland, too, a great conservative leader there. Why not say that to Hungary as well, with Viktor Orban and others out there, Javier Milei in Argentina, and Nayib Bukele, the leader in El Salvador. We want to have as many leaders across this earth, at least I do. I know if you guys love the free world and freedom, that's what you want to see out there, is more people that are. I wish it was, perfect, but that's heaven, and we're not there yet. So. But this is what we report on. We see what's happening out there, and we report, and glad you're here with us as it's 4:50 Eastern time. We may have a couple photos for you, as we can stick to a little bit of the weave, as President Trump calls it when he's doing speeches, way back Wednesday. If you've been with us for the past maybe 30 minutes, we did a little bit of a way back Wednesday talking about various rallies and the inauguration on January 20th. And we may be able to get you a couple photos here that I took over the course of the campaign, various places. There's one right there. I believe this was from South Carolina, but that's just a video perspective. We could take a look at maybe the next one as well. This one is from, this is awesome, Mount Rushmore at night, right before it's closing. I remember doing the Rapid City, South Dakota event. That was great to see Mount Rushmore. And our final picture as we await the president will be, let's see if we have it. I'm not sure. There it is. You remember all those rallies, the USA chants and we love you. And there's President Trump way in the back there. These are just some of my perspectives covering the campaign over the past couple years. And all of that to say, that's why way back Wednesday, but also we heard all those campaign promises by the president, those 20 core promises by President Donald Trump. So what we do know is that Tim Cook, the Apple CEO, will be joining President Trump at this event here, and that Apple's going to invest another $100 billion into the United States manufacturing sector. That means, what will that mean? Will that mean that there are actual Apple buildings of distribution and manufacturing plants? Who knows? Maybe we'll get some details from this event here. Again, that is happening as soon as we see a live feed. Now also, since I have some of your attention out there, I know a lot of you are waiting for President Trump, and that's great. I am too. But let's go to something that we've talked about a lot here at the network, the 20 core promises. I'm just going to go through them really quickly here. Number one, the promise to seal the border and stop the migrant invasion. We've seen that. We're seeing that happen. Number two, carry out the largest deportation operation in American history. Number three, end inflation and make America affordable again. Number four, make America the dominant energy producer in the world by far. Number five, stop outsourcing and turn the United States into a manufacturing superpower. Hint, hint, that's a good one for today. Number six, large tax cuts for workers and no tax on tips, no tax on overtime pay. Number seven, my favorite, defend our Constitution, our Bill of Rights, and our fundamental freedoms, including freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and the right to keep and bear arms. Number eight, prevent World War III, restore peace in Europe and in the Middle East, and build a great Iron Dome missile defense shield over our entire country, all made in America, aka the Golden Dome of America, thanks to the big, beautiful law. Number nine, end the weaponization of government against the American people. Dramatic pause. Number 9, end the weaponization of government against the American people. That needs to happen from now all the way through. And we know that there are investigations into wrongdoing when it comes to others that were involved, maybe in this whole Russia hoax. The DOJ is doing an investigation. We'll see what happens there. Number 10, stop the migrant crime epidemic, demolish the foreign drug cartel, crush gang violence, and lock up violent offenders. We have 10 more to go. These are the 20 core promises. Again, this is like, I know it's nitty-gritty stuff, and you probably don't want me to read a bunch of stuff to you, but I'm looking on the screen behind you, or kind of behind you, I guess, behind the camera, reading, and basically want to share this with you because it's the inside baseball. This is the White House playbook. If you were to watch a football game, which they're coming up soon, right? We've seen preseason games. I guess this weekend there's going to be some more games for the NFL, and then college football will be kicking off later in the month, and all that. So say you're a fan of, name a team, right? NFL team, college team, and you want to see and you want to know what's in that quarterback's mind. You want to know what that offensive playbook is all about. You want to know what it is. Well, we have the offensive playbook. We have the defensive playbook too, in a way, and that is these 20 core promises. That is the White House playbook for these 4 years, 100%. And these 20 promises are amazing, and if they're fulfilled to the T, we should be in great shape, not only for the 3.5 years that we have left with President Trump, but onward into the future. Number 11, and this is a big one from yesterday, rebuild our cities, including Washington, D.C., making them safe, clean, and beautiful again. President Trump talking yesterday about possibly federalizing Washington, D.C. because of the crime that's happening there. You better believe that if we had federal officers in D.C. on the right side of history, right, doing the right thing, just simply stopping crime and doing the law and order, that D.C. would be cleaned up really quickly. Now, the question I have, and this is a very honest question, is if we were to federalize D.C., is that just a temporary thing under President Trump's watch, or is this something that if we ever did get oh God, I hope not, but a leftist president in the future ever, will they have it still federalized? Well, what will that look like in the sense of control and all that? You know what I mean? So I don't know. I don't have the answer. If I was at the White House today, that's a question I'd actually ask. That's a question I would ask today. It says, President Trump, you spoke about the federalization of D.C. as a possibility. We, the people, see that as most of us I've seen, even Elon Musk and President Trump and many others are saying federalize D.C. But I would ask the president today, sir, you talked about the federalization of Washington, D.C. That would be good for cutting down on crime, but next term for whoever is president, will that still remain in effect, or is that just something that would expire in 2028? What would that look like? But again, I guess regardless, if a new president, whoever the new president is, if they wanted to federalize it, they could anyway. So I kind of just talked through my thoughts here on that, and I do think that that would be a great idea to federalize Washington, D.C. Anyway, what do you think? You can share that in the comments if you'd like. Number, let's see, 12. We're going to 20 here. We're going to go full steam ahead. If we do see President Trump, though, we'll have to revert and go to him, or divert and go to him, and then we'll read the rest of it after the event there. Again, this was scheduled for 4:30 today, so we are standing by for the president as we're getting close to the top of the hour as it's 4:56 Eastern now. All right, let's go to number 12. Strengthen and modernize our military, making it without question the strongest and most powerful in the world. Number 13, keeping the U.S. dollar as the world's reserve currency. Number 14, fight for and protect Social Security and Medicare with no cuts, including no changes to the retirement age. Number 15, cancel the electric vehicle mandate and cut costly and burdensome regulations. I know a lot of these have already happened, but we're just going through the 20 core promises from the campaign. Number 16, cut federal funding for any school pushing critical race theory, radical gender ideology, and other inappropriate racial, sexual, or political content on our children. Number 17, keep men out of women's sports. Number 18, deport pro-Hamas radicals and make our college campuses safe and patriotic again. Number 19, a big one, and I'm sure there's some legislation happening soon about this one. Number 19, secure our elections, including same-day voting, voter ID, paper ballots, and proof of citizenship. We just had Mike Lindell on the broadcast, I think it was last week on Friday, And yeah, he was talking all about that. And if you look at a country like Poland, they had 21 million people vote in their recent runoff election. It was a paper ballot voting system there. So, and within 8 hours, they counted the ballots and it was taken care of. Now, I know 21 million people versus what we have here, about 347 million people, but only a certain amount of those are voting age allowed, of course, and only certain people really go out and vote. Hopefully everybody will get, more people will vote in future elections. But the point is, the whole thing about securing our elections, including that same day voting, not voting and maybe in 2 days we'll get the numbers in from some mail-in ballot. How about same day voting, voter ID, paper ballots, and proof of citizenship? That's what we should all have, and I believe that will be the law of the land, hopefully soon. Number 20, unite our country by bringing it to new and record levels of success. This is all to make America secure and safe again, make it great again, make it prosperous again, but even to higher levels. As T.S. Dixon, the conservative analyst and author, said the other day, you know, yes, we want a golden age of America, but why not even a platinum and, a diamond era? You know, let's really take it to that level. So our country is absolutely, we already know it's the greatest, but go even further. Why not? For some reason, we were all born in America, or those that who are watching that were born in this country, thank God we were born here. But as for other countries, you know, if they choose what we have done when it comes to freedoms and capitalism and all of those things, I believe they would have had some great successes as well. And some of them have, but not to the extent of our country. Look at what has been invented in our country. The automobile, the airplane, telephone, on and on and on. A lot of stuff, right? The first printing press back in the day. You know, all of that right here. The first radio station, I remember this because I went to college outside of Pittsburgh, is KDKA. KDKA. Interesting, the K letters for local news is usually a West Coast thing. Usually it's WNBC or W this and that. But in Pittsburgh, on the East Coast, in the Northeast, really close to the Midwest, they still keep those call letters of KDKA. So there's a KDKA TV station in Pittsburgh. And the radio station was the first radio broadcast out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And that's my home, where I'm from, Pennsylvania, and my wife too. Anyway, that's a little bit of history as it's 5 o'clock, top of the hour. President Trump's schedule said 4:30. It's 5 o'clock, but that's okay. We've seen this before because we know President Trump is a busy person. Also, all those rallies we covered, you remember how we're out there and awaiting the president to come out and speak to the American people? Well, sometimes we'd have to tap dance for about an hour, and we'd do it. And if it wasn't for all of that training, I probably wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing right now. Just blah, 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 I keep going, right? Anyway, so it's 5:01. Let's look at this. All right, so we'll go to Truth Social again. We'll see if there's any latest posts from President Trump at this hour, as it's 5 o'clock on the East Coast, 2 o'clock on the West Coast. And we're looking forward to seeing this event unfold. This will be at the Oval Office. So we'll see what kind of questions are asked to the president, and we'll see the details about this announcement. Again, just to review a little bit, as it's again, 5:01, President Trump said earlier, my special envoy, Steve Witkoff, just had a highly productive meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin. There is, I know him, and we're going there right now.
First, about the India tariffs, which went up to 50% today. It's important to understand that the rationale for the India tariffs are very different from the reciprocal tariffs. This was a pure national security issue associated with India's abject refusal to stop buying Russia oil. And the math of this, every American needs to understand, because it's related to the trade situation. You start with the fact that India is the Maharaja of tariffs. It's the highest tariffs in the world, charging on American products. And it's got high non-tariff barriers, so we can't get our products in. So we send a lot of dollars overseas to India to buy their products in an unfair trade environment. India then uses American dollars to buy Russian oil. Russia then uses those American dollars that come from India to finance its armaments to kill Ukrainians. And then American taxpayers are then called upon to pay for the weapons that have to defend Ukraine against Russian armaments paid for by American dollars that came from India. That's got to stop. That math doesn't work. The president understands the connection between economic security and national security, so that was the bottom line there. Second thing, totally unrelated, I want to talk just briefly and make one point about the Russia hoax, because
Can I ask you about the India tariffs first before you do that?
Yeah, sure.
On that front, if that's the rationale, China buys more Russian oil than India does, and they have not been targeted for that. So why is India having its tariffs doubled?
As the boss says, let's see what happens. Keep in mind that we have over 50% tariffs on China already. Okay.
Right, but you could
we
go
have,
but they haven't been punished for buying
we,
Russian
we
oil.
have
and India's
we
being
have
punished for
over 50% tariffs
But
on
not because
China, so we don't
buying
want to get
Russian
to a
oil.
point where we actually hurt ourselves. Okay,
But
so
do you
that
see why people would
that
be
question,
confused by that?
and I think I've given a really good answer to that. We've got tariffs of 50%, and we already have high tariffs on China. So I take your point. President certainly will be working with China on that issue. Okay.
And just on that as well, the president mentioned the money that India makes selling those oil products on the international
Correct.
market. Australia, where I'm from, buys a fair bit
Yes.
from India. Has the
Yes.
administration got its eye on countries that are then buying
Yeah,
that
we're
product from
looking at that all. It's got to stop. I mean, again, think about what I just told you. It's like American dollars buy Indian products, and that sets in motion where those dollars finance a war, which then requires American taxpayers to pay for defending against the Russian armaments. So that kind of trade doesn't work. Okay, that just doesn't work. Now let me just really shift gears radically, because I want to talk a little bit about the Russia hoax, the Grassley report, and the Durham Annex, which came out last week. I had been working with Senator Grassley's office. I got to give him three cheers, because he's been working relentlessly to get out the information about the Russia hoax. And here's what I want to say. I went to prison, as did Steve Bannon, for defending the Constitution, but there isn't a single person associated with the Russia hoax that's been held accountable. And the list is a long one. It goes Obama, Clinton, FBI Director Comey and other people worked there, like Page and Strzok. It involved the intelligence community in Brennan and Clapper. And the importance of the Durham Annex is that ties it all together and brings also in George Soros and his son Alex and the Open Society Foundation. And this is the most sophisticated political scandal that's ever been engineered. No one's been held accountable. Good for Attorney General Pam Bondi for pursuing that. And the most important thing I can tell you, if people are not held accountable for the Russia hoax, they will do it again. If people are not held accountable, they will do it again. And that's what I'm most concerned about. Okay?
Do you believe a secondary sanction still going in place tomorrow? What's the latest decision on that? We had heard yes, but then there was some confusion.
I'm going to check for you.
So it's TBD.
I've had to say what I've had to say. What I do, Caitlin, is I think you know this, I never get ahead of the boss. What I try to do is when news is done, then I'll come out and tell you what I think it means.
So not clear if the potential.
I asked and answered. Okay,
just to
thanks for your
previous
patience.
answer, you would like countries that are buying refined oil
I didn't
products from
say
India
that.
to
I
stop.
didn't say that. You asked me a question whether we were looking at the chessboard. I can assure you we are. Okay? Thanks for being civil today.
Thanks, Peter. We're civil every day.
Okay, Peter Navarro, of course, the senior counselor for trade and manufacturing. The name Roger Stone popped in my head for a second there as I was tossing over there, but both Roger and Peter had to deal with jail time. And isn't it interesting? The same thing that Peter Navarro is saying is the same information that you're hearing right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. So on the same page. We have to hold people accountable, or as he said, he's afraid that it would happen again when it comes to this Russia hoax. But, you know, there were so many other crimes too. So we'll see what happens. We're all monitoring it here at Right Side, but also within conservative media. Again, Peter Navarro is the White House Senior Counselor for Trade and Manufacturing. So here's what I want to show you in live time right now. We know we're going to go to President Trump any minute from now, and there it is right there. But Caitlin Collins asks a question off topic to get away from the whole Russia thing. Did you catch that? You might want to rewind it after this and check it out. But let's go to the Oval Office. And again, what I just said is exactly what the left likes to do. He's talking about Russia, and then Caitlin asks about trade. See the difference? That's what the left wing likes to do. We're not that. We're the right wing. Right side of history right here. My name is Matthew Alvarez. Let's go to the Oval Office.
Hello, everyone.
Good afternoon, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. You know this gentleman, one of the truly great legends of our time, my book. Before we begin, I'd like to say a few words about the shooting at Fort Stewart in Georgia. As you know, 5 people were seriously wounded and 2 very, very seriously hurt around 11 o'clock this morning. The shooter is now in custody, and the Army Criminal Investigation Division is on site to ensure that the perpetrator of this atrocity, which is exactly what it is, will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. The entire nation is praying for the victims and their families, and hopefully they'll fully recover, and we can put this chapter behind, but we're not going to forget what happened. We're going to take very good care of this person that did this, horrible person. This afternoon, we're pleased to welcome to the White House one of the great and most esteemed business leaders and geniuses and innovators anywhere in the world, Apple CEO Tim Cook. It's an amazing job. Thanks as well to Secretary of the Treasury Scott Bessent and Secretary of Commerce Howard Lutnick for being here, wherever you may be. Oh, there you are. Hello, fellas. I missed you. Today, Apple is announcing that it will invest $600 billion, that's with a B, in the United States over the next 4 years. That's $100 billion more than they were originally going to invest. And this is the largest investment Apple has ever made in America and anywhere else. And it's just an honor to have you. As you know, Apple's been an investor in other countries a little bit. I won't say which ones, but a couple. And they're coming home. $600 billion. It's the biggest there is. The company is also unveiling its ambitious new American manufacturing program, which will bring factories and assembly lines across our country, all roaring to life. Areas that were not doing so well are doing very well. We have about $17 trillion coming into the United States, which is more than ever before. That's never even come close. There's never been anything like it. Even you, that's even a lot of money for you. But we have commitments of more than $17 trillion. That was as of a couple of weeks ago. These investments will directly create more than 20,000 brand new American jobs and many thousands more at the Apple suppliers like Corning, Broadcom, Texas Instruments, and Samsung, who all deal in that world. As part of this historic commitment, Apple will massively increase spending on its domestic supply chain for the iPhone and will build the largest and most sophisticated smart glass production line in the world in Harrodsburg, Kentucky, which is a great, actually, I did very well there. I like it because I see I did very well there. I did very well in Kentucky, but it's a great place. You're going to be very happy. I thought maybe while we're up, I'll interrupt my own speech by you might show them a little bit about the product that you're going to be doing in Kentucky, Tim.
Absolutely. Do you mind if I step up?
Yes, please.
This box was made in the U.S., California, and this glass comes off the Corning line. It's engraved for President Trump. It's a unique unit of one. It was designed by a U.S. Marine Corps corporal, a former one, that works at Apple now.
He's done well.
Designed it for you. And the base comes from Utah and is 24 karat gold. And it sits, I'll take the liberty of setting it up.
Wow.
Well, let's see. There we go. Congratulations,
Thank you
Mr.
very much.
President.
It's
Thank you
fantastic.
so much.
The great people of Kentucky. You're going to find it a great place to do business, too. It's fantastic. Isn't that nice? We're doing these things now in the United States instead of other countries, faraway countries. This is a significant step toward the ultimate goal of ensuring that iPhones sold in the United States of America also are made in America. With the mass infusion of capital it's announcing today, Apple will also build a 250,000 square foot server manufacturing facility in Houston and invest billions of dollars to construct data centers across the country from North Carolina to Iowa to Oregon. That's big stuff. Apple will also open state-of-the-art manufacturing economy. It's going to be a manufacturing academy in Detroit, and that's a great place to do. Well, you know, big things are happening in Michigan and Detroit. They're coming in because of what we've done with the, I call it the Great Big Beautiful Bill. I added one word, great. But we have probably the biggest, most comprehensive piece of legislation ever passed. It's going to mean unbelievable numbers of jobs and no jobs on Think of this, whether it's tips or overtime or Social Security, no tax. So no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime. And there's just a small bit of it. For Apple and others businesses, we're talking about the deductions and all of the things. And actually for people that go out and buy a car, first time it's ever been done, we talk about deductions for companies, but they're going to be able to deduct interest when they borrow money to buy a car if it's made in America. It has to be made in America. So it is amazing. And one of the reasons I think I can say that Apple's coming here is the legislation we just passed with this kind of investment. Apple will also open other facilities, rare earth magnets from Texas, and build, oh, I love that you're doing this. I love that. I love that. And build a brand new rare earth recycling line in Mountain Pass, California. I know that area. That's where they have a lot of truly rare earth. That's fantastic. I love that. And Apple will help develop and manufacture semiconductors and semiconductor equipment in Texas, Utah, Arizona, and New York. For years, Americans have watched as many of our leading tech giants built their factories overseas and exported American jobs abroad. But under the Trump administration, we're doing everything possible to make this the best place on earth to build a factory or grow businesses. I'm allowing them to build electric producing plants with their factory, because otherwise they'd have to hook into the grid. And I think it's one of the biggest things we've done, where you can build, Tim, your own electricity. You become your own electric manufacturer, and that goes along with the plant. So you become a utility. So congratulations, now you're in the utility. I hope they don't value your company based on utility, but that's okay. You're going to be making your own electricity, and as you probably know, for much of this and many of the things that we're doing, especially the AI, they would need actually double the electricity that the country now produces for everything. So it's massive electric, and they're going to be able to make their own, and they're getting very fast approvals. Lee Zeldin is doing a fantastic job, including with a 100% expensing on the one big, beautiful bill. In return, we're asking our businesses to invest in America, and they're coming in at levels that we've never seen before. So I don't know when it shows up, but there are a lot of factories and a lot of plants that are either under construction or soon will be starting construction. So can't tell you exactly when, but I want to be around in about a year from now and 2 years from now, because we're going to see an explosion, I think, like this country has never seen before. Never. Today's announcement is one of the largest commitments in what has become among the greatest investment booms in our nation's history, and we've got the hottest country anywhere in the world. You know, I told you the story that, and Tim, I'll tell you, but I went to the Middle East, and I was with Qatar, I was with UAE, and the King of Saudi Arabia, all great leaders. And then I went to NATO and saw many great leaders, and we just finished that about 4 weeks ago. Virtually everyone said, in effect, that we were a dead country 1 year ago. America, this was a dead country. We were dying, we were dead. And now you've got the hottest country anywhere in the world. This would have never happened except for certain people. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. NVIDIA is investing $500 billion. To go along with Apple, $600 billion. $600 billion. Micron, great company, is investing $200 billion. IBM is investing more than $150 billion. SoftBank is investing substantially more than $100 billion. TSMC is investing $200 billion. Johnson & Johnson, $55 billion. Merck, Stellantis, and General Motors are putting many, many billions in. They haven't determined the final number. And many other countries are investing tens of billions of dollars that I'm not going to give you the whole list because the list is too long to read. But it's hundreds of billions and even trillions. I mean, it's trillions of dollars that's being invested right now. Last week, it was announced that our economy grew at 3% in the second quarter. And consumer confidence is surging. Blue-collar wages are rising rapidly. Costs are way down. You know, I listen to these horrendous frauds on CNN and various other fake news networks, and they say costs are up. No, costs are down. Gasoline is down. It's going to soon, I believe, be less than $2 a gallon. It's around $2.40 right now, many places other than California where they tax you out of business, but and a couple of others. But gasoline is way down. The price of groceries are down. How about eggs? When I first came here, my first week, the press hit me very hard on eggs. Eggs had quadrupled or something. I said, I didn't know about it. Give me a chance. I've just been here for 4 days. Well, eggs are down. Everything's down. Price is down. The only thing that's up is stock prices. That's really up, and that's through the roof. The stock market has been hitting all-time records, all-time highs. Last week it was announced that our economy grew at levels that we haven't seen in a long time, but the real levels of growth are going to be judged in a year from now when you start seeing some of these incredible plants, because we have car plants opening. They're coming in from Canada, from Mexico, and from all over the world. And they're coming in because they like the way the election worked out, but they also like the fact that they don't want to pay tariffs. And the tariffs, I think, we're taking in hundreds of billions of dollars in tariffs. I won't be so specific other than to say, because we don't even know what the final number is. We just made a deal, as you know, with the EU where they're paying hundreds of billions of dollars. Japan paying hundreds of billions of dollars, and numerous other countries paying hundreds of billions of dollars. And we're not even completed there. And as you know, they found $25 billion 3 weeks ago. They said, we have a surplus of $25 billion. And they said, where did this come from? I said, check the tariffs. And they checked. They said, you're right. That's where it came from. And we've really just started. This is just in its infancy. So we have a great country. We have a country that is going to be very rich. It's a country that we're very proud of, but it's going to be very rich. And it's companies like Apple. They're coming home. They're all coming home. And we want them to come home. They have to come home. We're going to treat them really well. We're going to be putting a very large tariff on chips and semiconductors. But the good news for companies like Apple is if you're building in the United States or have committed to build, without question committed to build in the United States, there will be no charge. In other words, we're not going to be charging. So a lot of countries, a lot of companies are leaving various other places and they're coming to the United States. So in other words, we'll be putting a tariff on of approximately 100% on chips and semiconductors. But if you're building in the United States of America, there's no charge, even though you're building and you're not producing yet in terms of the big numbers of jobs and all of the things that you're building. If you're building, there will be no charge. So I just want everyone to know that. And I didn't even tell you that inside. We discussed the concept, but I didn't. So it's a big factor. So 100% tariff on all chips and semiconductors coming into the United States. But if you've made a commitment to build, or if you're in the process of building, as many are, there is no tariff. Okay? If for some reason you say you're building and you don't build, then we go back and we add it up, it accumulates, and we charge you at a later date. You have to pay, and that's a guarantee. So that's a big statement, and I think the chip companies are all coming back home. They're all coming back. You know, we started with Intel. And gradually, Intel was just taken over the coals. They were taken to the cleaners, frankly, and moved to other places, in particular Taiwan. But I think a lot of those companies are coming back, and they're coming back very rapidly. So that's a big statement. 100% tariff. I want to thank you very much, Tim. Would you like to say a few words about your company, please?
Good afternoon, everyone. Mr. President, thank you very much for having me here today. You've been a great advocate for American innovation and manufacturing, and I'm grateful for your leadership and your commitment. That's a commitment we share at Apple because American innovation is central to everything we do. Our products are designed here, we're hiring and growing here, and we support 450,000 jobs with thousands of suppliers and partners in all 50 states. Earlier this year, we made our largest ever spending commitment, $500 billion to the U.S. over the next 4 years. That's already yielding results. Earlier this year, we broke ground on a new factory in Houston to make advanced AI servers. And just last month, the very first test unit rolled off that factory's line, proudly made in America. President Trump shared some kind words about that work, but he also asked us to think about what more we could commit to doing. And Mr. President, we took that challenge very seriously. I'm glad to be here with you today, and I'm very proud to say that today we're committing an additional $100 billion to the United States, bringing our total U.S. investment to $600 billion over the next 4 years. As a part of this, we're launching Apple's American Manufacturing Program. It will spur even more production right here in America for critical components used in Apple products all around the world. And we're thrilled to announce that we've already signed new agreements with 10 companies across America to do just that. First, with today's announcements, I'm proud to say that Apple is leading the creation of an end-to-end silicon supply chain right here in America, from design to equipment to wafer production to fabrication to packaging. In Texas, we're working with manufacturers like Texas Instruments, Global Wafers America, and Applied Materials. We're working with Amcor in Arizona and Broadcom and Global Foundries in New York. Thanks to President Trump's vision, and with his help in his first term, we also led the way to bring TSMC to Arizona by committing to be their first and largest customer. Today, they're producing tens of millions of chips for Apple using one of the most advanced process technologies in America today. We're going to keep working with our suppliers to move even more of this incredibly advanced work to America. And this year alone, American manufacturers are on track to make 19 billion chips for Apple in 24 factories across 12 different states. Second, we're committed to buying American-made advanced rare earth magnets developed by MP Materials, which will become part of Apple's devices shipped around the world. MP is the only fully integrated rare earth producer in the United States, and with this partnership, they'll be significantly expanding their flagship facility in Fort Worth, Texas. We're also thrilled to work together on a cutting-edge rare earth recycling line in Mountain Pass, California. And third, in Kentucky, we've worked with our partners at Corning to build the world's largest and most advanced smartphone glass production line. And I'm pleased to announce that very soon, this is for the first time ever, every single new iPhone and every single new Apple Watch sold anywhere in the world will contain cover glass made in Kentucky. In addition to the American Manufacturing Program, we're also significantly growing our investments in AI, including expanding data center capacity in North Carolina, in Nevada, in Iowa, in Arizona, and Oregon. So we're going to keep making investments right here in America. We're going to keep hiring in America. And we're going to keep building technologies at the heart of our products right here in America. Because we're a proud American company, and we believe deeply in the promise of this great nation. Thank you all, and thank you, President Trump, for putting American innovation and American jobs front and center. Thank you, sir.
Great honor.
Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. What a job he's done. What a job. Incredible. I want to thank you very much, and thank you, JD, for helping along. Good job. Really good job. Any questions, please?
Mr. President,
yes.
You promised on the campaign trail to bring forth a manufacturing renaissance. You just mentioned $17 trillion in your first 7 months or so.
Right.
Can you talk about how an investment like this, all the other ones that you laid out, will positively impact the millions of Americans that trusted you with their vote?
Thank you very much. It changes our country. I mean, our country is a very different country than it was 6 months ago. And people like Tim are coming. We had Micron in yesterday. We had all of the big, great companies that you read about, you don't know about, but you read about. Many of them were making products outside of our country. Foolishly, we lost them. If we had the right person sitting in that seat, that would have never happened 20 and 30 years ago. When you look at the chip business, it would have never left our shores. We had 100% of chips originally, and then we slowly got taken down to nothing. We have the biggest chip companies, to both of them, but we have the biggest in the world coming in. They're going to Arizona and beyond. And we're going to have, in a short period of time, we'll be up to almost 50% of the chips from starting in nothing. And that's something. But we have the greatest companies in the world coming into our country, and that means jobs, and it means wealth, and wealth means security for our people. Okay? Brian?
Yes, sir. Congratulations on this investment, President Trump.
Thank you.
With a great example of putting America first. What does the labor force look like to fill these jobs that you have? Do we have enough skilled American workers to fill these?
Well, we do have a lot of workers, and we have a lot of workers that hadn't been looking for work because they were disincentivized, frankly. And people like Tim have tremendous schools and training centers that they build along with a lot of their big plants where they train people on whether it's glass, like in Kentucky, or computers, or whatever they might be doing. It's a complex world, and they train people, and they do a great job. So it's a whole new workforce. Now, we have a lot of them in energy because, you know, they've always liked energy. As you know, coal has opened up and opened up big. We brought it back and brought it back in a very large way. You know, China's right now building 58 coal-fired plants, 58 big ones. And here we were saying we don't take coal. We have more coal than anybody else in the world. We have more oil and gas than anybody else in the world. But we have tremendous energy jobs, and the energy, as you know, we're booming with energy. And that's why the gasoline prices are down. The costs are down. I just hope when they watch these shows, I watch this, I won't use names because I just make them better known, that nobody knows who they are. But I watch this group of people on CNN and MSDNC too, the same thing, where they say, well, costs have gone up. Costs haven't gone up, they've gone down. I'm telling you, the thing that's gone up is stock prices, and success of our country. Our country is really, really doing well, successful. Yes, ma'am?
Yes, Mr. President, have Putin and Zelensky agreed to a summit yet? And where and when would that be?
Well, there's a very good prospect that they will. And we haven't determined where, but we had some very good talks with President Putin today. And there's a very good chance that we could be ending the round, ending the end of that road. That road was long and continues to be long, but there's a good chance that there will be a meeting very soon.
How close do you think you are to a deal?
Excuse me?
How close do you think you are to some kind of deal?
Well, I don't want to say. I've been disappointed before with this one. You know, we've solved 5 wars, plus add to that Iran, where we wiped out their nuclear capacity for weapons. They would have had a weapon within 2 months, maybe less, and that was totally obliterated. It turned out it was a total obliteration, and the pilots and the people that did that job are really, we have the greatest armed forces in the world, but that was really something. In fact, there's a model of the plane right there. So, you got to bring that up, Susie. We have to see that. Look at this. This was just given to me. You know, we ordered brand new B-2 bombers. This is a plane that over a period of 36 hours of constant flying. Look at this. So this is the brand new one they just ordered. Similar, but actually quite different. It's new and enhanced. It's an amazing machine. It went 36 hours. We had 52 tankers up in the air loading up our planes because this was surrounded by F-22s and F-35s, and it was flawless, Tim. Even you would say it was flawless. And every one of those bombs hit their target. And then we had Tomahawks shot in from a submarine 300 miles away, and they hit every single Tomahawk hit its target. It was amazing. And that was a big threat. That was a nuclear threat. And here's the new one that we just ordered, a large number of them. I'll put it up.
Mr. President, what was the breakthrough today? Did Vladimir Putin make some kind of concession that he hasn't been willing to make before?
I don't call it a breakthrough. I mean, we've been working on this a long time. There are thousands of young people dying, mostly soldiers, but also, you know, missiles being hit into Kiev and other places. But in terms of soldiers, I think Russia's lost over 20,000 since the beginning of the year. 20,000. And I guess the estimate for Ukraine is about 9,000. It's a terrible situation. We want to get it stopped. You know, we don't have American soldiers there, but I feel I have an obligation to get it stopped. This was not my war. This war would have never started, not even a chance. And it didn't start for 4 years. It went 4 years and it didn't start. But this is Biden's war. This was on his watch. And, you know, it's funny. We had no land was taken from Trump. It was taken from Bush. It was taken from Biden. The whole thing they would take from Biden if it weren't for us. But it was and it was taken by Obama. Take a look at what was taken with all of the land that was taken. Nothing was taken by Russia from us. Not 1 ounce of land was taken. I'm here to get the thing over with. It would have never started if I were president, and we're here to get it stopped and get the death stopped. Yeah, please.
President, in the past, you said you would know if Putin was tapping you along. What gives you any confidence that he is or isn't doing that this time around?
Can't answer the question yet. I'll tell you in a matter of weeks, maybe less. But we've made a lot of progress. And as you know, we put a 50% tariff on India on oil. They're the second largest. They're very close to China in terms of the purchase of oil from Russia. But so I don't know if that had anything to do with it. But we've had very productive talks today. Yes, ma'am?
President Trump, on federalizing D.C., are you considering taking over the D.C. police? Is that an option on the table?
We're considering it, yeah, because the crime is ridiculous. I could show you a chart comparing D.C. to other locations, and you're not going to want to see what it looks like. It was just up on television, actually. They were showing it. Now, we want to have a great, safe capital, and we're going to have it. And that includes cleanliness and it includes other things. We have a capital that's very unsafe. You know, we just almost lost a young man, beautiful, handsome guy that got the hell knocked out of him the night before last. And I'm going to call him now. We wanted to give him a little recovery time. We just put a call into him. They're calling back in a little while, but he went through a bad situation, to put it mildly, and there's too much of it. We're gonna do something about it. So whether you call it federalized or what, and that also includes the graffiti that you see, the papers all over the place, the roads that are in bad shape, the medians that are falling down, the median in between roads that's falling down. We're going to beautify the city. We're going to make it beautiful. And what a shame. The rate of crime, the rate of muggings, killings, and everything else, we're not going to let it. And that includes bringing in the National Guard, maybe very quickly, too.
And do you want Congress to look at overturning the D.C. Home Rule Act?
We're going to look at that. In fact, the lawyers are already studying it. We have to run D.C. This has to be the best-run place in the country, not the worst-run place in the country. And it has so much potential. And we're going to take care of it. You're going to be safe. You're going to be safe walking down streets. You're not going to get mugged.
Mr. President, if you do reach a deal with Ukraine and Russia, would you drop the additional tariffs on India?
Well, we'll determine that later. But right now they're paying a 50% tariff. Okay.
Yeah, please. One for Mr. Cook as well.
Yeah, please. Sure.
The president wants a made-in-the-USA iPhone. What are the chances that you can actually make that happen?
Well, if you look at the bulk of it, we're doing a lot of the semiconductors here. We're doing the glass here. We're doing the Face ID module here. And so there's a ton of it. And we're doing these for products sold elsewhere in the world. And so there's a lot of content in there from the United States.
But what about the whole thing?
We're very proud of it.
Can you make the whole thing
is
here?
just the final assembly that you're focused on. And that will be elsewhere for a while.
He makes many of the components here, and we've been talking about it, and the whole thing is set up at other places, and it's been there for a long time. So in terms of cost and all, but I think we may incentivize him enough that one day he'll be bringing that. But he brings most of the stuff. Look, he's not making this kind of an investment anywhere in the world, not even close. He's coming back. I mean, Apple's coming back to America. Thank you.
Indian officials
Let me go, please.
Indian officials have said that there are other countries that are buying Russian oil.
It's okay.
Like China, for instance,
It's
buys
okay.
more.
Yeah.
Why are you singling India out for these additional
It's
sanctions?
only been 8 hours, so let's see what happens over the next.
Sanctions
You're going to see a lot more.
So this is a taste of
You're
what's
going to
to
see a
come.
lot more. You're
Mr.
going to see so much
You were the
secondary sanctions. Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, you were the driving force behind Operation Warp Speed, these mRNA vaccines that are the gold standard.
Right.
Now your health secretary is pulling back all the funding for research. He's saying that the risks outweigh the benefits, which puts him at odds with
Research
the
on
entire
what?
medical community and with you. What is going on
Research on what?
into mRNA vaccines?
Well, we're going to look at that. We're talking about it, and they're doing a very good job. And, you know, that is a pass. Operation Warp Speed was, whether you're Republican or Democrat, considered one of the most incredible things ever done in this country. The efficiency, the way it was done, the distribution, everything about it has been amazing. But, you know, that was now a long time ago, and we're on to other things. But we are speaking about it. We have meetings about it tomorrow at 12 o'clock, and we'll determine. We're looking for other answers to other problems, to other sicknesses and diseases, and I think we're doing really well. Yes, ma'am, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. You said many times that you want to stop wars in the Middle East. Now, Prime Minister Netanyahu is contemplating reoccupying Gaza entirely. Is he defying you, sir, or are you giving him a green light?
Well, we have stopped wars in the Middle East by stopping Iran from having a nuclear weapon, and they're you know, they can say they're going to start all over again, but that's a very dangerous thing for them to do, because we'll be back. As soon as they start, we'll be back. And I think they understand that. They're just words. But no, we've stopped a lot of wars in the Middle East. If you think about what we did with Iran, Iran was the perpetrator of hate, a very evil place, and I think it's going to be a lot different in the coming years.
On the India penalties, do you have any similar plans to enact more tariffs on China as it relates
Could
to their
happen.
purchases?
Could happen. Depends on how we do. Could happen.
Brian, I've got an entertainment-based question for you. A few weeks ago, Stephen Colbert announced that he was leaving his show. Howard Stern announced that him and Sirius XM Radio are parting ways. Do you think the hate Trump business model that's been in the entertainment business is going out of business because it's not popular with the American people?
Well, it hasn't worked, and it hasn't worked really for a long time, and I would say pretty much from the beginning. Colbert has no talent. I mean, I could take anybody here. I could go outside on the beautiful streets and pick up a couple of people that do just as well or better. They get higher ratings than he did. He's got no talent. Fallon has no talent. Kimmel has no talent. They're next. They're going to be going. I hear they're going to be going. I don't know, but I would imagine because they get, you know, Colbert has better ratings than Kimmel or Fallon. You know that. Howard Stern, it's a name I haven't heard. I used to do a show, used to have fun, but I haven't heard that name in a long time. What happened? He got terminated?
Yeah, they're going to separate ways because I think what they're offering salary-wise is real low than what he's getting.
You know when he went down?
Whenever you want.
You know when he went down? No, before. When he endorsed Hillary Clinton, he lost his audience. People said, give me a break. He went down when he endorsed Hillary Clinton.
Mr. President,
Have you talked to Governor Cuomo? Interviewing Fed candidates yet?
Yeah, we've started the interviewing process. Scott and I and Howard, a lot of people, JD, we have some great candidates. It's probably down to 3. He doesn't want the job. He said, do you like this job better?
Yes, sir.
I mean, he was a candidate, but I don't think he'll take it. I really don't think he'd take it, actually.
Are there any candidates from Wall Street, Mr. President?
Yeah, essentially we're all from Wall Street, aren't we? You know, when you get right down to it, the term Wall Street. Yeah, please.
Yep, you made your tax cuts permanent. You mentioned that the tariffs are bringing in a ton of external revenue. You've opened up markets, the EU, Japan, South Korea, many others, to American goods like we've never seen before. How much growth can we expect in the economy now that this model of yours is sort of beginning to really take off?
Well, I think the growth is going to be unprecedented. I think we're going to have growth that's unbelievable. Now, remember, we're building and just starting to build a lot of these incredible plants. We talked about the electric facilities that we're building, the generating plants, electric generating plants. They're massive, and they're going to be great. And they're going to sell excess electricity into our grid. So we're going to be having much more electricity than we ever had. And those plants are going to be taken care of individually. I know Tim is building one in one of his big factories, but especially for AI because it needs so much electricity. So I appreciate the question very much. I think the growth is going to be unprecedented.
Did you have a phone call with Andrew Cuomo? Did you speak to Andrew Cuomo?
I haven't. No, I haven't.
Mr. President, have you been briefed on what Ghislaine Maxwell told Todd Blanche?
No, I haven't.
So you don't know whether it
I don't
came
know.
up in the
I know Todd
conversation
is a
or
very
not?
respected person all over the country, all over the world legally, so I don't know.
Mr. President.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Will the new Fed governor be temporary?
We're probably going to go with a temp and then a permanent, I think.
Are the two
So the temp is going to be named, I'd say, over the next 2-3 days, and then we're going to go permanent.
Are the two Kevins the leading contenders for the permanent spot for the chair?
Well, the two Kevins? The two Kevins are absolutely, yeah. They're both very good.
Mr. President.
The two Kevins is very good.
Mr. President, is Vice President Vance hosting a gathering this evening to talk about how to respond to the Epstein situation?
Is he working on what?
Is he hosting some kind of gathering of top advisors this evening to talk about how to respond to the Epstein situation?
I don't know. I could ask you that question. I don't know of it, but I think here's the man right here.
I saw it reported today, and it's completely fake news. We're not meeting to talk about the Epstein situation, and I think the reporter who reported it needs to get better sources.
Look, the whole thing is a hoax. It's put out by the Democrats because we've had the most successful 6 months in the history of our country. And that's just a way of trying to divert attention to something that's total bullshit. Okay? Yeah, please.
A new Gallup poll says that Elon Musk is the most unpopular public figure in the country right now. I'm wondering, do you miss having him around the White House, or is that poll accurate?
I don't know if the poll's accurate. I think he's a good person. I think he had a bad moment, really bad moment. But he's a good person. I believe that.
President Trump, are you keeping that 10 to 12 day deadline?
China facing potential secondary sanctions for
Yeah.
Russian oil. Them having that tariff or sanction rather or not hinges on what going forward?
It may happen. I mean, I don't know. I can't tell you yet, but we did it with India. We're doing it probably with a couple of others. One of them could be China, yes.
Are you keeping that 10 to 12 day deadline that you had given Russia after today's talks?
Yeah, we're pretty much getting close to it right now, but we're having very serious talks right now about getting out of Ukraine, getting it settled, getting it ended. Should have never started, would have never started. If I were president, it would have never started. I want to thank Tim Cook. He's a great, great man, a visionary, a businessman, just about every quality you can have other than athleticism. I don't know about that. I'm looking at him. I'm not 100% sure about you. You're a good athlete. I'll bet you're pretty good. I think he's good at everything, but I want to thank you very much, Tim. Thank you, sir. Congratulations. Thank you all very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Fred. Thanks, guys. Right here. Cut it out. Thank you, guys. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Fred. Thank you, guys. Let's go. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, guys. Thank you. Right behind you. Thanks, guys. You're right this way. Thank you, Fred. Thank you, Fred.
Come on over here.
And that guy that you saw right there is Doug Mills with the New York Times. President Trump always talking about Doug being a great presidential photographer. Actually got to meet Doug out there on the campaign trail. Pretty cool stuff. Anyway, President Trump speaking with reporters at the White House after announcing that $100 billion added investment from Apple into United States manufacturing. So that is now $600 billion from Apple. So I want to thank a following number of sponsors here at Right Side, allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Thank you guys for being a great sponsor here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. AngelPace.com out of Spring, Texas. Use that RSBN promo code. It always goes a long way. Great savings there for some great products. Also, Cove Pure, covepure.com/RSBN. Instead of tap water, you can go with the filtered way. Tastes a lot better, and it's a lot healthier too. Covepure.com/RSBN and also mypillow.com/RSBN. Free shipping still there for you. More than 2,000 products for you to choose from. All right, so we've been live since 2:30 in the afternoon. Thank you so much for sticking with us and watching this live event. And for all of us here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, I'm Matthew Alvarez. We'll see you again soon.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.